Why am I doing this? This is miserable.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Vassals of Kingsgrave for our Dragoncast edition, episode 8 of House of the Dragon, the finale? Question mark? So we're back for our final episode of this season, and it's gonna be great. We're gonna have so many fun things to say about all the cool stuff that totally happened in the finale. My name is Adam, also known as drownedsnow on the Discords and all the other things. And today I am joined by...
This is Katie, formerly Lady Griffin, Saharan on the Discord.
This is Casey, Blue-Eyed Queen.
And this is Michal, Inkasrain, I think? I don't know.
Hey, these names work. They're what the tags will forever be on the WordPress if someone wants to find you. So, you guys just stuck with it. If you didn't like your names, that's what they are. We could always change them, but then, the tag thing would be unfortunate. So, all right, we're going to dive into lemon cakes here in just a second. But before we do, there is a bit of housekeeping. I have a report from my Maester of Whisperers on the Blackfire Rebellion that has been going on throughout most of the season. I have met with Lord Baron Blackfire. We had a great chat. It was very cordial. We had a good time. The Sacred Sword Blackfire has been returned to House Targaryen, and the Blackfires have taken up in Summerhall. Totally. I totally approve that. They didn't force their way in there and take over at all. So everything's going well, and there's peace in the realm, just like in the show, and all is good. So yeah, happy ending there. Everybody's at peace for sure. So with that said, let's get on to our lemon cake rating. Let's go with the same order there, and let's see what you guys thought.
I'll give it. This is a hard one. I guess I'll give it a 3. I'll be middling about it. I wasn't bored while I was watching it, and I think they probably did as best they could with the episode count they were given. Mostly, I'm just becoming increasingly aware that the show is it's going its own way. It is diverting a great deal from the source material in ways that some of them I'm okay with. Increasingly, I'm not okay with a lot of the choices they're making. The Daemon stuff infuriates me on multiple levels, but the episode is not without its merit. It was totally fine. It's not a season finale. Like, I can't even look at it that way. It's a trailer for season 3. But yeah, it was totally fine. It was mostly, if this had been in episode 8 and then we got like 2 more episodes, it would have been great. But alas.
All right, so I will also give this a 3. I honestly, at the end of the episode, I was like, maybe they're giving us a surprise episode. Like, I honestly could not believe that we were ending this way. I was like, they gotta be punking us. Like, they gotta have like something up their sleeve. Like, surprise, we're doing another episode. That's why we left you on this. Haha. I feel like I kind of went in waves with the episode. Like, I really loved a lot of what they did with Daemon, but I also, like, when he said winter is coming, I wanted to punch him in the face. It's just like aspects of it that really bother me, I think. I see what they're doing. I love a lot of the lore and more book reader fan service type stuff that, it's things that we would only know, honestly, and like that kind of stuff is cool to have, but also it's like I don't really understand why we went this direction. I know that there's an article with Ryan Condal floating around about how it came down to money constraints, and I honestly think that is corporate bullshit. And that's where I'm the most mad, because if it really is to do with funding, fuck Max.
Hear, hear, Casey.
Yeah, I guess I'd probably also give it like a 3, I guess, all told. I do think some of the belly aching is a little overblown. Just about like, aha, the show was bad all along. I feel like people are overreacting a tiny bit. And by a tiny bit, I mean a lot. But yeah, no, it was not a great conclusion to a season for sure. It wasn't a conclusion. It didn't feel that way intentionally, ugh, fuck this embroidery. I'm not doing this anymore. I can't. My needle just fell out for the 6th time. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be domestic and it's not working. Yeah, but I mean there's also just like I never know what to believe, and you're not supposed to believe stuff that people say, like as far as like TV goes, and oh, the network says this, well the writer says this, and blah blah blah. Like you just don't know what the truth is. So it's hard to speculate, but it does feel to me like there was honestly, maybe in anticipation of the strike, like a pullback on Max's part, in which case they should be called Min, not Max, because they minimized anyway. Anyway, no, but it's frustrating, and I think that the season ending this way highlighted a lot of the frustrating things about the season that otherwise maybe would have been less prominent, like the episodes kind of being very long but not necessarily going anywhere, relying on dialogue scenes that were longer than they should have been, character plot lines that stayed in one place for too long. Amen. That kind of thing. But however, I don't think that like I this is the kind of thing where I feel like we'll come back with season 3, and assuming that they do season 3 well, it won't like even really register that much.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. I think, I forget who it was who said it in the comment thread, that's like, when you're binging this 10 years from now, this will probably be fine. And I'm trying to keep that in mind, that this is probably a really good episode 8 out of a 10 episode season. But it's very disappointing considering we were looking forward to a finale, and the time kept stretching on, and like as we got to the end, I'm like, there's not that much time left. Like they're gonna do something. I was like, we're gonna have one big thing, right? Like we're gonna have one conflict, or like something is going to happen. And they showed us a whole bunch of cool setup stuff that felt far more penultimate than finale. And so I think I'd give this like a 2.5. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to hate this as bad as I do, because there's parts of it that like it's like the vision shit, and some of it where I was like, ugh, which was made worse by hearing the creators and the director and stuff talk about it, which I was like, oh, cool. And as you say, like they are diverting further from the source material, which is pretty broad, and they're allowed to do that. And mostly they've done a lot of that for the better. But then hearing them talking about, I forget who it was, said something about like, oh yeah, it's so good seeing what I've written come to the screen. And it's like, that's sort of where I land with when I feel like adaptations go off the rails. Like it doesn't have to be exactly the story that I've read or seen transposed. I mean, honestly, sometimes I'd love that, depending on what the source material is, but you can improve it. There's all kinds of ways you can improve it. But I feel like a lot of writers these days, when they get an adaptation, get out there and they're looking to, make it their own in a way that doesn't always work. Like they're just changing to say it was mine. And I don't know, I don't like that personally. I would rather hear you talking about how it was amazing to see the story you're adapting, to see the story you read come to life, and, put your own spin on it. And then when you talk about like, oh, I wrote all this, it's like, well, kind of. I get what you're saying. But I don't know. It's just maybe a difference in attitude. But I think most of you guys said most of the stuff that I would say about this is that it was just not what I was looking for. There were some big problems in the episode that were just really left me deflated and not as excited. And even and you can see the lemon cakes have gone down a lot more like 3s and 2s. And even just kind of casual viewers that I know, like I had a friend of mine who watched it on Monday and texted me and was like, man, the season of the Dragon Show kind of sucked, didn't it? You know, someone who like didn't even watch Game of Thrones, right? So I don't know. I feel like it left everyone very disappointed. And what are the reasons behind that? I mean, like you said, Michal, we're never going to know. But they've been saying since the season started that like, oh no, 8 episodes is we wanted to stop somewhere in the story, and that's why we got these 8 episodes, and that's been kind of the company line. And if they wanted to do the gullet or something like that, I could follow along. But they just wanted to stop here. Feels, I don't know. It feels like I was promised something that wasn't provided.
I just don't believe it. Like I just don't.
It's
possible
I think that's
that this
the
was
PR.
like, that Ryan was like, hey, what about 8 episodes? And HBO was like, yeah, 8 episodes, great. It just doesn't seem likely to me that that's the way it went down.
Well, that reeked very much of like late season Game of Thrones, which we all have trauma from, where D&D wanted to get out, and whatever you feel about them and their work. And I think you're right too that the hate has gone too far. Like I saw people posting like, oh, maybe I was too harsh on D&D. Like this is terrible. I'm like, this is not even close. I mean, we would be fine with this if we had a big battle next week or the next 2 weeks to watch or something, or big epic something happened. But I don't know, like it doesn't feel right, and it's hard to place. And I don't want to be like the terrible like angry fanboy, didn't get what I wanted and I'm owed or whatever. But it feels like, yeah, they gave us this message like hey, the season, that 8 episodes is really going to work. You're going to love it. And then I feel like we've wasted an hour and a half of runtime, at least this season, on stuff that we didn't need, that I felt like moved the story in directions that I didn't like, changes I didn't like, or just was a waste of time. And I'm like, man, you couldn't have spent that making this episode like episode 7, and then we got a real finale. I don't know.
I just feel like after coming off of such a action-packed season 1, to not have that much happen, honestly, throughout this season, except for like one battle, really. I think it's really one battle that we actually experienced. Like, I just don't understand why they thought that this would work. Because, I don't know, it just felt like they put their heart and soul in the season 1, and then season 2, it kind of just felt like they put something together, and it felt like, honestly, like maybe they even filmed the gullet, and then they were like, we can't do any of the CGI for this, we don't have enough money, let's just end it here and hope for the best.
Yeah. Or they storyboarded it and said, no, we got to keep Jace longer, or they wanted to rework something. Or I do wonder if we're missing something, or if we'll ever find out, if there was some sort of production change like that. I mean, to me, what really sets this off is the first scene of this season is Winterfell, right? And they spent some money. We got Winterfell back. They had those digital assets. They rebuilt the wall, kind of tried to make it look very similar. Really cool. And then like we get some previews reminding us that we were at Winterfell, but we don't get anything from Winterfell with the Starks until this episode. Almost at the very end, we get the shot of the Winter Wolves coming across the Twins. And if you watch the house that Dragons built, like behind the scenes things they do on that, they had that all storyboarded. It was this big shot, and they were like, oh, we can't film this. Like, we don't have the stuff to film it. It's not set up. Like, this is just impossible to film with what we're doing. So they literally built a whole set around making this one shot, and it's actually technically impressive. It's really cool with all this wire, and the freaking camera was on a wire, and the cameraman like ran to the camera, and he's like pivoting back and forth, ducking between people, getting this shot for like a 10-second shot. of the winter wolves walking, and then like the camera sees them walk forward, walk past. I'm like, that must have cost so much fucking money. And you're telling me that like it's a budget issue? It's a cool shot, but like you put money into that, like a lot of money from the looks of it, a lot of time. It's just weird to me.
So my theory, and this is just a theory, and it's probably totally wrong, and it's pure speculation on my part, and if anyone's listening from the show, which they're not, but if they were, I'm sure they're shaking their head and they're just going, silly fan, this is not what happened.
Michal, you have insider knowledge that we can't confirm.
Yeah, sure. So my theory is that something... I think they wrote it for 10 episodes, and then they had to contract it, and then the strike hit. And when the strike hit, they couldn't edit anything, right? Like nobody was allowed to do writer duties, which included any changes to the script. So
like they couldn't cut scenes or do any of that, you mean?
Right. And they were filming during the strike. I think they might have even finished filming because the strike didn't end until November. So my thought is that they were relying on a lot of those long dialogue scenes and all that stuff that like would have maybe been trimmed down and like readjusted for more action and whatever. But it just didn't happen because they weren't allowed to change anything. And once they were, like, it was done already. That's, that's my version.
And then
maybe
they had to drop their episode 9 and 10 or like condense
no,
it into the montage. You mean?
I think HBO like either. I mean, they could have been in anticipation of the strike because people were talking about the strike for a good long time before it started.
Yeah, it was huge during production.
But it could have been. But for whatever reason, I think HBO was like, "You get 8 episodes," and they had either 10 episodes written or plotted. And
to be fair, when we say HBO, this is an HBO production that used to be run by HBO, which was then Warner Brothers, that made Max and all that. What we mean now is that fucker who owns Discovery and has kind of been ruining everything. That's what we mean.
David Zaslav.
When we say HBO, we mean some asshole who makes reality TV shows, which some of them are great, and kind of just is really fucking with HBO these days, which is unfortunate. Deleting shows and reducing budgets and just kind of
killing movies.
Yeah, why do we? Yeah, taking movies that were finished and just forever deleting them. Like, why do we need these things? Okay, like, buddy.
I've been trying to think of something like comparable to this. Like, I remember when the first writer's strike, like, I remember with House, like, the writers for the 4th season, like, basically to say fuck you to whoever was going to write the next season, like, made all the characters, like, disappear. And so they had to scramble for season 5 because I think that other people ended up writing for the following season. Like...
Yeah, and I'm thinking like Battlestar got really screwed up. There's a number of shows that had stuff happen where it's like you could see the seams. I didn't feel that as much during the season watching this.
And that was probably
like, being
because,
here,
I get it partially written.
Yeah.
I also wonder
although there was some bad writing this season. There was some stuff that just did not slap.
But when you don't have writers on set, and Ryan Condal was on set as the showrunner, but he wasn't allowed, according to the terms with the strike, to do any writer activities, which was one of the ironies of the strike, that all the studios were like, our showrunners must be on set. It's crucial. We can't do it without them, but not because they're writers. So like part of that is that you can't adjust. You can't like change to the mood. If the director has a new idea, like that has to come totally from them and can't be changed with dialogue or anything like that. It's like it's a big hindrance to creative production, as it should be, because writers are important. So again, I mean, I'm just making this version up in my head, but to me it makes sense that like that combination of factors would have led to a season that was specifically bad in this way. You know what I mean?
Right. And I could be wrong, but I know the director for this episode talked about how she was given the like the vision montage thing, the Weirwood visions. Like she was basically told, here's all the things you have to include, and then basically it was left up to her to make it all, like to do it all. And which is sometimes how that works.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm of the strike. What I imagine are lengthy studio notes about tying this into Game of Thrones.
GOT,
and the broader like IP universe. And like contractual obligations about how many scenes each actor needs to have per season, like a ton of stuff that that goes beyond like ideas that get put on a page. I think obviously this season's this season seemed like it was incredibly difficult, and I still think it was a good season. It was just like you can definitely feel like things happening behind the scenes that led to like our least favorite parts. Like I agree with Michal that a lot of scenes in this season feel way longer than they need to be. And for the most part, I'm okay with that. I like being in this universe. I like these actors, but you can feel like the absence of an editor or just like a difference of style than the first season. There's also a feeling that like they couldn't advance the plot as far as they needed to, and so certain characters needed to stay in a holding pattern because they don't have the excuse that they have in the story, which is that Rhaenyra stays on Dragonstone because she had a bad like miscarriage or bad birth and just kind of can't go anywhere. They didn't really tie that into the first season, so it's like, okay, why isn't Rhaenyra doing anything? And they also had to send like Daemon off to Harrenhal for his plot, so it's like little changes that just ripple outward and come to a less satisfying conclusion. But no, this is not a bad season. Like, not at all. There was a lot of great stuff in this season.
I agree.
It's when the finale doesn't land, it colors everything that came before it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, it's like an asterisk here, I feel like, on our ratings. Like, there are a couple bits here that I want to get like a little nerd ragey about, a little upset about. But for the most part, I do feel like in 2 fucking years or whatever it is, because apparently they're going to start shooting early next year. Whenever we get the next season or the next 2 seasons, and this show is complete, like this season will hold up just fine. But right now, I don't, look, people get nerd ragey every episode. We see the comments, we see people online that are like, rage quitting over this or that, and then, probably don't actually do that. But this was a very good, this is one of my favorite shows still. This is one of the best shows on television, I think. The acting, and there's still very good writing. They pulled off some amazing stuff this season. And so definitely like hats off for that. Like the season as a whole, and I'd still give a very high rating, even though this is not great. And, they ended it with like the sheep stealer shit was bullshit. Like we didn't even know. I was like, I thought they'd at least do that or something. Which, since they didn't, maybe they can still save it. But
that was a peak Game of Thrones storyline where we need to what could be accomplished in a couple of scenes, we need to protract over maybe 5 or 6 scenes.
Every time they cut to Rhaena, like, and they showed us 5 seconds of her, like, almost just basically lost in the wilderness and about to die, I'm like, when we cut back, she'll be dead.
Just before we get to this part of the show, I do want to say, like, I don't have any experience with with writing and with show business or anything. Anything related to that. But the one thing I do have experience on is when a company buys your company. I imagine that emotions were confusing. I think that a lot of times when somebody buys your company, they expect you to make them more money than what you were making them, and you're kind of like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? And I do wonder if some of the employees at HBO were just like, you can, even if it's something small, like you just don't have the heart to produce something when you're working for somebody that is this big corporate mega.
Yeah, the mission may have changed. Your job may be in jeopardy.
Yeah, like it's different people. Yeah, they could have just fired everybody. You don't know.
But let's let's get like started properly, and I'll do a speed run real quick and just go through kind of point by point everything that happened, and then we'll just talk about whatever the fuck we want to. Sound good?
Works for me.
All right. So my notes are a little bit disjointed. We'll try to follow along here. I might skip some of these, but because I have some odd little footnotes here. But anyway, the previously on had Alicent, had Alice, basically telling Daemon like he doesn't need to be king, and he seemed to have gotten that, but we actually get it this episode. I don't know. We get a callback to Rhaenyra sending a messenger to Daemon to try to figure out what's going on. Oscar Tully, sheep stealer, just all this kind of stuff that makes me think, oh, we got the new dragon riders, like something's going to happen this episode. The preview really led us on, and then it opened up with a monkey, which was cool because we're in a new place. There's a monkey. I'm like, what is going on? We have Tywin Lannister. Yeah, they kept fucking up his name too, which I honestly thought was hilarious. Was the best bit of the episode. Negotiating with the pirates, and they actually got some fucking blue hair, which is great. They want the stepstones, but he's got to throw down. We don't know why. Then we briefly get Aemon on Vhagar, and apparently he burned the city, but there's no real background there, and they don't show him burning the city, which is something they could have spent some money on. Aegon with his milk of the poppy. Larry's telling him about what happened with Aemon and the dragon seeds, and how Aemon basically fled because he was scared, which I don't know, does he have whisperers in the ocean or in the air that see this, that see a scared Aemon on Dragonback? I don't know. Kind of sus, but whatever. Nothing's happened so far. And then Larry's also presses that he needs to leave, and I keep wondering where the Kingsguard are, because he says when Aemon comes back, he's going to kill you, and it's like, well, you've got a castle full of guards that are supposed to be listening to you, but maybe not. And anyway, Vhagar's too important, so basically get the fuck out. We see Rhaena for the first time, I guess just wandering around in the Scottish Highlands, ready to die. Then we get the council with the dragon seeds, which was cool. And we see how much of a shit Ulf is. And there's a fun bit to do with this, I guess, in the after show about how all of them had to eat food so many times because they took so many takes, and a lot of them chose meats and bread and stuff and were sick because they were eating duck and too much shit. And Adam was like, I ate these berries. So I ate berries all day and I was fine and didn't have to throw up, which is hilarious. Rhaenyra and Corlys. Yeah, it's interesting. She's down at high tide, I guess. Yeah, but anyway, he's smart enough to remember that Dreamfire is a thing and to be careful. Tells us about his new ship. That's cool. He's renamed it to the Queen That Never Was, which is awesome, to recognize his dead wife now, finally. And she has a lot of love for it. It's okay. So then Rhaenyra's like, oh, maybe we should attack King's Landing. I'm like, okay, so that's what we're going to get this episode. Got it. Nope. Alfred Broom arrives and goes to kind of confront Daemon and deliver the message. But actually, he's more pro-king. He wants to support the man instead of Rhaenyra, but he's still loyal to Rhaenyra. Very confusing, setting this guy up to be a shit later on, even though he says he would never support the Greens. Aemon arrives, has the harbor locked down. Not very interesting. Alicent and Helena says she was happier before she was queen. Helena does. I feel like Alicent probably thinks the same thing, but can't say that because then, that's her child. Be mean. So, yeah. And then Aemon, I guess, tries to force his sister onto Dragonback. Not really sure what he was going to do here if she refuses to burn people once she gets on Dreamfire. No idea. Alicent seeks out passage out of the city, yet again from the Grand Maester. I mean, she just left like a minute ago. People come and go out of the city. Now she needs the Grand Maester to help her do it. I'm very confused about coming in and leaving from King's Landing. Don't get it. We get Cole, and this scene made me feeling like something was cut for time because it opens up with him cleaning his sword, I believe with Alicent's favor. and it just immediately cuts to Gawain pulling out his sword and accusing him of sleeping with Alicent and taking her honor and all this shit. And he talks him down. And they kind of sit down on the log like bros after a decent speech. And then we have mud wrestling Tywin, whatever they're calling him at the time. Let's see, Bela kind of tells Jace to get over his shit. And like, fuck it if you're a bastard, man up. Good work by her. Rhaena again in the Vale, about to die. Okay. This is like, I wrote, this feels very like season 7 of Game of Thrones. Like we just keep flashing to her and don't know what the fuck's going on. Anyway, she could have been feeding someone sheep in all these scenes, but whatever. So, yep, we get a shout out that the Triarchy fleet's going to go to the Gullet, which I don't know if the Gullet, the term, had been mentioned before. And I thought, oh, okay, we're going to get the Gullet for this finale. That's what we're having happen. The Gullet, cool. That didn't happen either. The Lannisters, their seed is strong. He's got to impregnate all of her wives. I don't know how many wives she has. I fear for him, but seems like he had a good time and got it done. So, Lannisters, get it done. Dragonstone, more of the Dragonstones being an idiot, getting ready for the attack, training, more foreshadowing of the Gullet, which again doesn't happen. And then, I think maybe they should have done like a written test or perhaps like an interview with the Dragon Seeds before they sent them to claim Vermithor and Silverwing, but that's just me. Sir Simon Strong sends Rhaenyra word, which it's about damn time. And then Alice is watching Daemon sleep for some reason. Don't know what's going on. She still hasn't interacted with anyone on the show but him. And let's see. Oh yeah, he follows her to the Godswood. We get the weirwood bleeding. We get sad George Martin's face in the weirwood tree. And all these visions featuring others and Dany. And it seems like Helena can sort of communicate through the vision. I don't really know what was going on, but then we flash to her and Aemon on that ledge. And she asks if you'll burn me too if I, backtalk you and shit. I thought maybe he was just going to push her off and kill her right there. Glad he didn't. Let's see. Then we go to... she also tells him that he's going to be swallowed up by the God's Eye. So lots of God's Eye foreshadowing. That's all been pretty good. Then we get... probably my favorite bit was Sleepy Caraxes, who's been waiting at Harrenhal forever, and sees Syrax and Sea Smoke and is so happy to see his bros, or sisters, or whatever they are. Just so happy to have more dragon friends and maybe do something. For some reason, Simon Strong meets the Queen, outside Harrenhal by herself. He doesn't have guards, there's no one there. Don't know why. Anyway, when she follows him in, Syrax also follows. Pretty badass, looking over the whole hall, could burn everyone if she wanted. Then we get the thing where Daemon says, "Winter is coming." Fuck. But he kneels, and I don't know. I did find that a bit moving. It's interesting. We get Corlys and Alan with maybe the best scene of the episode, where he just unloads, and Corlys is still kind of unwilling to really connect and fully engage, but Alan has a great scene here. More like 5 seconds of Rhaena about to die. Rhaenyra suddenly talking about the cost of war with Mysaria, sure. And then the King's Guard wake up Rhaenyra at midnight or whatever. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I thought maybe we're getting a battle. Nope, it's Alicent. And she's just there. And they have their conversation, which she makes some good points, but we're going to talk more about that. The whole situation. Very odd. Yeah. And then we get the montage with Dragon Riders, High Towers, Darren is flying to Sarian. We get the twins and the Winter Wolves. Lannisters are ready with their fucking lions. Sheep Stealer, we finally get kind of up close. Nothing happens. Daemon, the Triarchy, Alan and Corlys ready to go. Otto, just don't know where he's been. He's locked up by someone. I think the popular rumor is Beesberries. And Aegon makes his way out of King's Landing, and credits, which I was stunned by, because there was still 10 or 12 more episodes on the runtime, which was all after show and credits shit. This is one time when I did not expect the credits to actually be rolling.
Can we talk about the Damon stuff first, because it's the
We can
most
talk-
annoying.
Yeah, we can absolutely talk about whatever you want. First, let's introduce Bing, because he has joined us. And if he wants to give us his lemon cakes, that'd be great.
Oh, hi. Yeah, sorry for intruding, but thank you very much. That was a great recap. So this is weird. I don't think this is actually as bad as maybe some people on the internet are saying it is. I think the problem is you sort of have to, if it's a normal random episode, I'll give it maybe a 2.5. It's not terrible. It's okay. I think the main issue is that this is the last episode, in which it's not just that this is the last episode of the season. There was also no like penultimate major big something really big happening episode. I mean, episode 7 is pretty good, but it's not that sort of season defining. And hence that's the problem. So I don't know even how to rate this episode.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what we said. It was mostly 3s. I gave it a 2.5. Yeah, that's kind of basically the same thing. Like as a finale, not great, but reserve judgment till later. So yeah, I just did a quick kind of read over of the whole episode, and then we're just gonna kind of freeform it. And so I believe, Katie, you wanted to talk about Damon's the visions, or like the kneeling part, or all of it.
All of it. I didn't think this was worth everything that was building up. I mean, it's been the weakest plot for me this entire season. And to me, I kind of feel like this breaks the character going forward because, I mean, I talked about this with Michal. It's like he has a religious conversion. He basically sees the light, and he's a believer. Like he believes in the patterns of destiny, that they are on the track to prevent the apocalypse. Which is that a Damon thing for him to believe? I mean, in the show, I guess, but is it an interesting thing for him to believe? Not for me.
No.
Yeah, like this does not feel very just what emotion is there behind this?
Right.
I have no idea. Yeah, it doesn't come from like a place of character. It's just like he saw something big and scary enough that it left him awestruck, and therefore he must march to his doom.
The things that made him the rogue prince kind of haven't been there this season.
Yeah.
And I think this is what they were leading up to, with some sort of conversion. I didn't know it would be this. And I think you're right. It just is not, it doesn't feel Damon. It doesn't feel as interesting. And I wish he had come through this and like you had showed that like, oh, his kids sit the throne or something. And like he saw like if there was some sort of selfish kind of motivation in the visions where he's like, oh, okay, no, this works out for me. Yeah, I'm down. That maybe would have helped a little better.
It's a shame that the tree didn't show him Danny burning King's Landing.
Oh, shit.
Like maybe this isn't going where we thought it was.
We
Yeah.
saved the realm, but not your family.
Yeah, this just felt like the worst kind of universe tie-in fan service. And it makes me worry about him going forward as a character, because it's like he touched the tree. He's quote unquote good now, as far as like there is good in this show. But yeah, I don't understand what they can do with him after this, other than make him like a follower of the time stream.
He's an acolyte now.
Yeah, and it makes me worried for Aemond, because I still think that they're going to park Aemond at Harrenhal, and now that Alice Rivers is a defender of the time stream, that she is going to try to make him a believer too. Like, this makes me so nervous. I guess the one good thing I can say about it is the vision he has. Like, it's very evocative, very striking visually. Like the one shot of him stepping in the puddle and then tumbling into the water, like spine tingling, because it's like, oh yeah, like that's how Damon dies, like drowning in the God's Eye. And I don't know, like that made me feel very sad for him. It just seemed like a very lonely fate, and like that's one of my favorite shots now from the whole season. I just wish it was in a different context. Him saying the goat man was kind of cool, but
Yeah, I was like,
otherwise,
Isle of Faces.
yeah, I like how he sees it and doesn't react at first, and then he slows. Like, what the fuck was that? Like,
That
oh,
was a bit metal right there. Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty cool. Otherwise, I mean, it makes me sad that Damon and Rhaenyra were not together the whole season because I think they are better, more interesting characters when they are like on the same team. And I think it would have made everything that happened on Dragonstone just like a more interesting story because like if if they want to have Rhaenyra be the good one, like she can I mean whatever, like you can have Rhaenyra be the good person and then you can have Daemon be the problematic one. I just think they would have been more interesting as a couple on
I agree.
Dragonstone dealing with the dragon seeds and their kids, and like it just a lot of the separation of the characters I think really hurt the season, at least on the side of the blacks. Like the greens were great because you have all those characters together bouncing off each other. Whereas like Damon and Rhaenyra apart, like as soon as they were back in frame together, I was like, oh yeah, like they're great. Like when they're in a scene together, and it's just it sucks that we didn't get more of them. Anyway, yeah, that's
Yeah.
my all my feelings about Harrenhal.
Because they both ride dragons, and as we just saw, they could have visited each other at any time. And if they were together, or at least, mostly together, even if maybe not like totally in sync, I do think this would have worked out a lot better. I never really bought the idea that he's disloyal, or that he wants to make himself king necessarily. I feel like he did that by marrying Rhaenyra.
No, I mean like he ends in a very similar place to season one, which was bowing to his queen.
Which I
And
thought was actually a good moment.
yeah, I mean it was good in the moment.
Yeah.
And it's like I never thought that he again, yeah, I agree, Adam. I never found him to be like a disloyal character. I thought he was interested in the power more than he was the title. And if he could rule through her as like the king consort, I felt like he would be probably okay with that. I just didn't buy the idea that in the midst of a civil war that they would separate like this and that Rhaenyra would be so annoyed at him that like that
And
it just
worried, and she took a second dragon rider just in case. And think about
yeah.
like the book just basically says like Daemon took Harrenhal, right? Like he went,
Yeah.
and it's so we get this thing where he shows up on a dragon and he's like, Harrenhal is mine. Hilarious, loved it. And he could have gone back and forth to Dragonstone, and like clearly he didn't need an army to keep Harrenhal. He was like, yeah, I hate that shit, Larry's. So he didn't need to stay there to keep it. They could have killed him in his sleep if I don't know. He wasn't stuck at Harrenhal for any strategic purpose. So it was kind of weird, and it was a very half-hearted attempt to like be like, he's disloyal. He's going to be the king. He's going to betray Rhaenyra. She's going to have to get on his team. It was. I think they were trying to maybe say something about like toxic masculinity and all that, and it didn't land because I don't know if Matt Smith was playing it for real. It felt like he was playing it like a petulant child who was just like, tell me I'm the boss. But he's like, well, I know when Rhaenyra gets here, we're bros. Is what it felt like the whole time to me. And I know some people were like, no, he's going to take her crown. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And I think doing this little fake split and having him convert and all that, it's going to make it really weird if they do what happens later. Where she doesn't trust him and she's like, almost calling for his head, but not really. Like, how does that happen, especially if they don't have a Nettles? Like, it makes me confused as to what's going to happen, how that's going to go. But I did like the line he said. What did he say to her? What did he say? Oh, until death or the end of our story. I was like, that's kind of a nice little. And then I'm like, you could put that on a card. I'm sure people will like put that on a ring. Like, oh, that's very sweet. Yeah. But winter is coming. Fuck off.
That fucking sucked. Yeah, that was real bad.
I wanted to like that too, but
It wasn't even
Yeah.
said in the thing. Like, how did he know to say winter is coming, and why is he saying Stark's house words?
Well, his vision, he sees, the embodiment of winter and all that. I sort of get it, but yeah, like, what does he even fucking know about Starks? Like, I just wish that there was either more to the vision or more explanation from him, either talking to Alice or talking to Rhaenyra about, hey, like, our line is important. You and me, like, what we are creating is important because, our children's children are going to inherit the burden of like saving the world. Basically, that's not. It almost feels like he thinks this could happen like in a year. Like he thinks
Well,
this, is very close to happening.
I mean, I think that's part of the point. Like, I think all of the Targaryens who learn about this prophecy do think that it is referring to pretty much them specifically, or at least their immediate offspring. That certainly
But how
Rhaegar
many
did.
of them? How many of them see it through a Weirwood vision of the future?
I mean, well, to me, that's part of the point of prophecy, right? It's like, it's just, you always think it's about you, and this family is
Fair.
not inclined to, not think that. I think for me, so I don't mind having with their fight, and I don't, I think it should have happened later in the season. But, Daemon strangles Rhaenyra at the end of season 1. I don't think that this is, out of character for him to, A, leave, and B, like, consider seriously that he, is better suited, or convince himself that he's better suited for leadership. I don't even know if he would think of it as dethroning her, because he's like, she'll rule beside me. It's just like, I'm just taking what should have been mine, and she has what is hers already, and for me, that I can square that. But I think, like what Katie said about the having him know the truth and then be on the side of the truth really neutralizes like the Daemonness of his character, right? Because like there's one thing that's part of why I find like Alicent so compelling. It's like her belief in what, she thinks Viserys said was very strong, but we know it's not true. But we know that what Daemon is acting on is true. So it's kind of like, well, how can he do anything wrong now,
It does feel like, I mean, and maybe they wanted to write it this way, but I feel, and I felt this way all season, is that it's almost like they want the blacks to be less evil. I mean, they don't want this. It's not a story about two terrible sides of the same terrible family fighting over something. Doesn't really matter, like, in truth. It's about one side that's bad and one side that's pretty good. Like, every time anybody starts talking about the innocents, I was like, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't
Yeah.
care. And yeah, it feels like they're fixing Daemon to get him back on the good guy side, and it just makes it.
He
I
could
want
have
these
still
people.
been the bad asshole on the good guy's side. Like,
Yes, that's kind of what I wanted for him. I felt like he
yeah,
needed to
that's
be
yeah.
the one who was causing trouble. But the problem is that they've made Rhaenyra too good of a person, so that when he kills, little Jaehaerys at the beginning of the season, she can't deal with it. Like, she can't square it in her worldview, and they have to have like a divorce for most of the
And
season.
he's even like, oh, it wasn't what I said, man.
I will say that I think that they're moving, artfully or not, they're moving Rhaenyra way more into the gray. And I think that like when she says a son for a son to Alicent, like that to me read as her being like, well, maybe it wasn't such a bad thing that we chopped that toddler's head off, like I feel like they're trying to position Daemon and Rhaenyra like to have them switch kind of moral sides, and I don't know that I like it, because I want Daemon to stay where he is and Rhaenyra to join him. I don't need Daemon to get nice.
Yeah.
If that's what they're doing.
Yeah, they are changing the characters in drastic ways, and I would be okay with that. Like, I like changes they have made to Kristen Cole and most of what they've done with Alicent and Helena. It's just that I find this change to be an unwelcome aberration. It feels just less compelling to me.
Yeah, I think we're making hashtag not my Damon stickers for next season.
I was so psyched to see Brynden River. I was so psyched for Bloodraven. I was like, this is so cool. And then like over like a nanosecond, it was like, oh no, we're not stopping there. Like we're
like what's gonna happen with Dunk and Egg when that show airs?
I mean,
like,
yeah,
like Dunk is gonna be fucking cutting his meat with that fucking dagger, like, or not Dunk, but Egg. Like he's like, where'd you get such a fancy dagger? Like, you know, oh, it's just a household, you know, thing.
Yeah, there's zero way in which this plot can go anywhere near, anywhere beyond the wall.
I mean, they already did that with the dagger in the first season, and with giving us the prophecy binding the Targaryens.
Look, even that's okay because that's just giving motivation. That's just giving motivation. Oh, we're the most important people. The self-importance. Okay, yeah, sure. Self-importance. But now it's like this person sees visions and says, "Oh, this is my destiny." It's like, no, this is not your destiny. We know this is not your destiny. The show cannot actually, this plotline cannot go towards there.
Yeah, I mean, it just...
Or something has gone terribly wrong with
It
this
bothers
show.
me that Daemon... And I know they have spent a whole season, like, tearing up his brain and torturing him with nightmares. But it bothers me that the way that he comes back to his wife is because the tree told him, you need to follow your... Like, you need to submit to your wife to save the world.
Didn't it feel like he was already there before the vision, though? Didn't it feel like his conversations with Alice, like, it felt like he was like, yeah, I know my place, but like it felt like he was there most of the season anyway, and it felt like last episode he was already there. I felt like we didn't fucking need this werewood vision.
Yeah. No, I actually felt that really strongly that we had finally reached where they were going with Daemon, and I also frankly like once we step past like 3 episodes of dream stuff, I was like, each successive thing makes it worse. Like, no matter how cool it was to see Viserys, this like subtracts from the overall experience. But like the idea that he's only like hit, like he's been marinated sufficiently now, it didn't like, I was like, how can this have taken 6 episodes? You know? It's too long.
Yeah, less is more with this for sure.
Well, if you're going to spend a lot of time on this, make it something meaningful. This show has always struggled. I mean, not just this show, but Game of Thrones as well has struggled with dealing with magical things and prophecies and all of that. But they've shown more willingness to embrace that. Okay, fine. But
because they needed another dream. That was what's the weird dream thing in this episode. That wasn't like an escalation or
someone thought that like Daemon being obsessed with his mother and fucking his mother was like some logic, amazing like incel anti-man like commentary or something. Like, I don't know. Like, someone thought that was brilliant somehow. And I don't know if it really landed for the audience, but they did some amazing things with like having the weirwood bed and the torturous dreams and having the fucking antler man, and like they did a lot of cool creepy stuff that they could have done differently that would have been amazing.
Yeah, but like
right, because it went on too long, so you lose the point.
What's the point, right? What's the final point? And I guess
Yeah, like, it's the difference between like writing with a pen and writing with a magic marker. You know, it's just
more context.
You're not gonna have the same effect.
Yeah, like they wanted us to think that like the whole him and his mother thing was going to really like show you why he's so fucked up. But then like a couple scenes later, we get Alice being like, "You never met your mother, right?" And you're like, "Well, you could have just done that. You could have just reminded us that he never had a mom."
I think we can conclude that this storyline was a failure.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who enjoyed Daemon at Harrenhal.
Yep.
Not
To me,
even
I also-
Alexis.
I just really struggle with characters like Alice, who, and it's the same problem I have with Misaria, who's like, I'm a champion of the people. I'm like, why? And why do you care about Damon? And why are you, like, why is this your purpose now? You know, like, I don't like characters who come in and are just like, you're in a story, you know, like, you're a wizard, Harry, you know, it's not, it always really jangles oddly for me, and I don't enjoy it.
Well, if they gave us more of an Alice backstory, or gave us more of a reason
Right,
why,
something else to do except look creepily at Damon.
yeah, no, I mean, so
Cryptically.
far
Yeah.
she literally hasn't talked to another person on screen.
I mean, Massaria, I will defend a little bit. You sort of get a little bit of her backstory. You get sort of her motivations. I can buy that she cares about common people because she was one of them, and she got exploited and all of that, and hurt and all of that. Who is
I'm
Alice
still
Rivers?
not sure she's real.
Alice Rivers has no character.
She
other
is
than-
real because
she's a character.
Simon talks about her, but
He lives
Did
in
he-
the
Did real?
same multiverse as
Yeah.
Helena does, because they were both in that vision. Sure, I'm not comparing her to Alice. I'm just saying.
Helena
that,
at
like,
least have some
they
character.
both were like in that same.
Yeah. So here's the other side of it.
I don't
Is
know what
Helena
their
has
psychic
been
link between
given
them
way
is.
more to do than in the books. And in this vision, she ends by, like, I think, communicating with Damon, seeing the visions going on, communicating with Damon. I was there for all of that. I was like, this works for Helena, whatever's going on with her, whatever her... I mean, they're conflating the, like, dragon dreams and the green seeing and all that. But, like, I was like, this works. I liked that. And it's literally part of this. They integrated them in this scene that we're like, we hate one part and, like, the next part I really like. Why does that work?
it might. I mean, I'm still struggling with this too, because ostensibly they are doing very similar things as characters. But, like, it might be because we've established Helena's role as this, like, Cassandra, like this person who is aware of a truth that she can't communicate, and like and seen the results of that. Whereas Alice is just like, you magic, like, she weird. She's again, skin so white it's almost green, but she's not a witch, like. Yeah.
She's kind of like the person whoever says,
And
why
I
something
guess
happening?
also,
Because
If she
magic.
just pulled
feels-
a coin from behind his ear,
Why
I would
magic?
be like, yes.
Because magic.
But, like, Helena feels like an agent of the magic, or like she's acting under it, whereas Alice feels like she's trying to direct it. And that is like, I don't know why
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
She. Mhm. Helena seems like there's rules, right? Like, you want her to understand her process, like something to do with insects, like she can see certain type of things, but she's trapped, and it's like, yeah, there's something logical. Like magic, okay, you can say there's magic, but magic needs to make sense in this world.
And it's not that
Alice
things have
doesn't
to
make any
be
sense.
explained or make sense.
Or
They
we
just
don't know
have to
what
make
Alice
sense,
is about.
like, on an intuitive, thematic level, right? Like, we don't need to know how
Yeah, that's what I'm
Helena
saying,
sees
yeah.
what she sees, or, you know.
Yeah, I don't need all the rules. That's fine.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
But like, there's context. There's context.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Sir Simon
where should
Strong,
we-
though. King.
Snitch.
Snitch.
That a snitch with the drip. That's how he
Wait.
affords the drip, even though he's broken. He be snitching.
I also like Alfred
Did
Bloom.
you see the slow clap
I also
that
like
he
Albert
does
Brooks.
at the end?
He's
It's
like,
so good.
great. Get this asshole out of my castle, please.
But I did like the kneeling of the army and everyone kind of committed to Rhaenyra, for the war. I did like that part of it.
I liked Broom getting in the Godswood, like hearing the word traitor whispered around him. Like, that was terrific. There's good stuff in here. But where do we want to go from here? Where do we want to go next?
Yeah.
Can we talk about all the Lannister shit?
Hey, Adam,
Yes.
I have
Well,
I
for
have
Alfred
Greg
Bloom.
here who wants to say something.
Oh my gosh!
Greg wants to talk to
special
us?
guest.
Hashtag Greg.
No.
Hashtag Greg
He
on the
wants me to say
podcast.
something.
No, special guest. Hashtag Greg. Okay, this is like our once a season Greganing. Please continue.
All right, so how did you feel about this season?
It was fine.
You son of a bitch! You're dead to us.
It was fine.
I agree with Greg.
Dragons
I agree with Greg. By
I
the
don't
way,
really remember. I
Excellent.
just feel I was telling Casey today, like getting into it like makes me remember like 10 years ago, like what my life was and how like central the podcast and everything was to it. And so it's kind of like bittersweet. Like I missed that time, but I wish like we had the new books, but we have this instead, which is fine. But I enjoyed it. It's pretty. I forgot a lot of the stuff, so I don't really have much to get angry about, except for like some of the storytelling. Like the stuff at Harrenhal, I just thought was just wanted to get on with it. And then obviously with no action at the end of this season was very frustrating, which I kept pausing. I was like, nothing's going to happen. It's like, there's 45 minutes left, nothing's going to happen. It's like, there's 20 minutes left, nothing's going to happen. And then nothing happened. But I understand why they did it. I just didn't like it. But yeah, it was enjoyable. Like it was nice to get back into that world. But at the end of the day, like this whole, I've mentioned this before. I just feel like sad for George that he hasn't finished the books yet for good reasons. But it's fun to have. I'll watch the next one. I'll watch Dunkin' Egg, but it's not like I'm not getting angry about it. I'm saving that for the Amazon Lord of the Rings show.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I saw the trailer for season 2 of Rings of Power, and I'm just like, at least give me some good fucking battles.
I haven't even seen the trailer yet. I'm just re-listening to the Silmarillion now, so that I'm getting my joy that way.
Oh, I'm in the middle of the Silmarillion too. I've been listening to it on my car ride. That's funny.
Read by
The
Martin
most
Shaw.
boring book ever written.
Sorry, I thought I heard something for a second there, but there was some static.
Yeah, it's definitely edited out.
I don't disagree. It's a boring book, but it's the right kind of boring. You have to get it, Katie. You just don't get it.
It's like comfort food. I feel like for me, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's good background.
Yes.
I fell asleep to it in the car.
No, you were already asleep. Then I put it on.
I fell
I like
asleep
it.
to it.
Casey, maybe if you read the maps,
I like it as
you'd know.
scholastic level.
Okay, doesn't he still have them on the wall?
I do have the maps on the wall.
I look at them sometimes.
Yes.
They're very cool.
Never too late to get into cartography.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but it was fun. I like having the world again. I just don't remember. I remember doing like family trees for the blacks and the greens and like being so into it. And now like, I kept asking Casey like, I think I know what happens. Then I'm like, Tumbleton, isn't Tumbleton the battle? It's like, no, and then it was something else, the fish feed. But we didn't get any of it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I haven't done a reread in so long of the proper Ice and Fire. I did re-listen to The Princess and the Queen before this season. But yeah, there's a lot of things where I feel like I'm definitely forgetting.
But Sir Simon Strong was my favorite character of the season. I just loved every scene he was in, whoever that actor is. Kind of got like same way I felt when they cast Mace Tyrell in the season. It's like, oh yeah, I love him. But he was very memeable with his facial expressions and like, oh dearie me. But it was very enjoyable, except for Damon and Harold.
How would you rate Sir Simon Strong's drip?
I'll give him an 8.
Fire.
Yeah.
Bet.
Yeah, but I'm glad I got to join at the end. Casey was bugging me to join every single one, but I don't like talking about a thing if I'm not loving it. I don't want to just crap on it. And it was enjoyable. Like I kind of wish Game of Thrones had this budget, in like season 1 or 2, but like
right,
spoiled by 15 dragons an episode. Now we're back then. It was like, oh my god, there's gonna be a dragon at some point. Yeah, but I mean, in terms of adaptation, I understand why they made the changes, but little things I don't like. Just the whole Vale storyline, just the editing of that. Like, I had no idea what the point. Like, are we supposed to understand that she was like kicked out of the Vale to go get the dragon, or she's doing it on her own? Because I was like unsure of that, and then I don't know why like Otto Hightower's in a cage. And I do like Laris Strong actually. I think I'm on Team Strong apparently, but I love the Laris, I always liked him from the books and the book.
I support all strong boys in this narrative.
Yes.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about that. That's from
Yeah.
I know
So-
what movie that's from.
the early 90s.
The leading theory for Otto is the beesberries. Kind of, he got waylaid by the beesberries. But
You think anyone watching this show knows who the fuck the beesberries are? Even though I know he was like got his throat cut, but I mean, if that's the case, that's
no, I mean that's all I hear people. That's all I see people saying, and I've seen.
Yeah.
I think Emergency Awesome or whatever said, "Oh yes, this is probably beesberries," and I'm like, "Did you guys see a sigil I missed? Like, is there something
No,
I missed?"
there was nothing said.
Yeah, so I don't know. It for all we know, that's like the cells in King's Landing. Probably not, but I thought maybe we were going to see him in the Thailand role, like going across to.
oh yeah, that whole thing was also awful. Like they traded awful Harrenhal for like the Pirates of the Caribbean. You know.
Oh no, I love that bit, man. Like at least let me laugh.
That actor just reminds me of Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports. So I just keep picturing him with like a Boston accent.
That's fair. Oh my goodness.
Okay, if we could pivot to the islands for a sec. The thing that bothers me about this is not necessarily anything with the scenes, but it's like, whereas it's true that some stuff should have been shorter and taken place over fewer episodes. This, however, felt like 3 episodes of stuff just crammed into the finale, complete with a new character, major new character developments, like a whole kind of tense plot line of what's going to happen with the Stepstones. Like, it's just like, and we're just going to like press fast forward on that. And that really bugged me. Oh dear.
This captain lady is the new Sand Snake.
Well, I mean, she doesn't have as much to live up to as the Sand
she
Snakes.
is, right?
I didn't think she was bad. I just thought, like, my sister said something once about storytelling, which I now believe is like complete gospel, which is like, you need to have a really good reason to introduce a brand new character at the end of your story. And this was just not a good enough reason. We had so many minutes that could have been cut in like 5, 6, and 7, where this could have been gradually introduced,
And then you could have given us the gullet if that's what you were going to do.
I don't think, I don't ever see this being my favorite plot line, but I think I could have seen it, it pulling its weight, where this just really felt like we're just plunk,
I needed the comic relief, okay? I needed the monkey. I needed them getting his name wrong. They called him like Tygon one time or something. They called him Tywin to start. They called him anything but Tywin.
They called him Tywin first.
Which obviously was intentional and amazing. And we got like mud wrestling to mud wrestle to get a fleet of ships.
The only thing
that's just hilarious.
The only thing that worked for me with these scenes was this name calling. That was like genuinely funny, and also like a nice way to poke at previous seasons.
Yeah, and the blue hair, the blue hair.
There is definitely somebody working on this show who is like, like this is another way we can poke at the readers, and they'll know that we know.
Which one of these is Dario?
They all are.
That's fine. That's fine. I just feel like the captain, she feels like a caricature. There's nothing there. And I really don't see why we need to have the character develop more, so she's going to remain a caricature. So that's where I see the Sand Snake comparison. It's just, I agree with Michal. Well, that's the problem, right? This episode doesn't feel like a final episode of a season. This is a scene that fits well in the middle of a season during the sort of developmental whatever. But in the final episode, it stands out too much.
No, I totally agree. I think that it feels out of place. It feels like, why weren't we here earlier? And it could have been placed literally anywhere in the entire season. Like, honestly.
Well, we would have had to have gotten Lannister the given pony rides or whatever first, and then we could have gotten this. Just the comic relief throughput there. Yeah.
We want to pivot to the greens.
Yes, let's do it. You want to talk about King's Landing, or you want to talk about? You just want to go all the way through to Alicent?
Oh, sure. I mean, it begins with Aemond, his scene with Helena and Alicent. Is that like kind of the first major scene after he burns random town number 3?
Yeah, we just get Aemond, and you get Larry's and Aegon and Alicent with Helena, and all of that kind of is all one thing. Like, I do love how, like I said during the recap, it's like somehow he gets word that Aemond, saw the other dragons and turned back, but Aemond didn't come back yet. And he's just out there burning, and dragons move pretty quickly. So, like, who gave him this word that quickly, and how do they know the intention and what's going on? And this is odd.
The dragon burning thing felt like when in Harry Potter, in the movies, when they decided to make all the weird like fighting scenes be the wand connecting thing that only is supposed to happen one time. And I know that they can probably just burn things, but like I feel like we're overdoing it.
And well, we didn't show it. Like, it would have been badass if we see him like running scared, and we see a moment in his eyes like turn from like fear to like rage, and he flies to the nearest fucking castle, mounts on top of it, and just breathes dragon fire down it or some shit.
Yeah.
Should also be a pile of like $10 million that he sets on fire that belongs to HBO.
This was a much cheaper visual effects shot for sure.
Yeah, I do really like. I mean, I guess we could start with Aegon. I thought that was a great scene between him and Loras. I'm not excited to see them both in Bravos. I don't need to see a full season of them in Bravos. But I mean, I do. He is a pitiable figure now. I mean, when he says that he is alone, it's like, oh, I buy it. I believe it. And I mean, there's something like just so pathetic about Aegon, the realm's delight, and like it highlights his isolation and just how doomed he is in the narrative. That like he just wants to be adored and loved, and he's not going to get it. He's just going to be taken apart piece by piece until there's nothing left.
Oh yeah, the realm's delight bit where he's like, "You'll come back, and you're gonna be the best king." Ugh. Larry's is gonna get himself killed.
Well, Larys is the one who's going to betray him in the end. So, I mean, it's very sweet that they're having like some bonding over their disabilities, but it's like eventually this table is going to flip.
Yeah, Larry's just going to try to play all sides all the time. I don't even know if he fucking knows what he's doing anymore. Like I said, he's gonna get himself killed doing this shit.
Yeah, I mean, he does get a great.
He outlives almost everybody else. So.
Everyone stands up and says, Corlys shouldn't be executed. And they're like, okay, does anyone vote for Larys not to be executed? And nobody says a goddamn thing. Pretty great. And then I guess from here it goes to Aemond and Helena. And I'm very disappointed that we're not going to see Helena on Dreamfire. I think I would prefer that to be how she goes out in this story, but...
Do you think she'll get on Dreamfire for any reason?
No.
I kind of feel like, yeah, I feel like no, even though they tried to tease it.
It would be cool if she did.
It would be really cool if she just, like, flew on Dreamfire, like, out east, like, instead of...
Right. That's the thing is when Alicent is begging, like, she's like, we'll just run away together. And I'm like, she can just get on the dragon. Like, if you want her to be safe and you're trying to get your grandkid and her out because they're like your precious, sweet children, like, she can go. Maybe you can't get on the dragon with her. Although, Dany seemed to be able to make that happen. But yeah, like she can definitely get out of here.
I'm okay with Alicent not thinking about like thinking logically enough to go like that they can just go on Dragonback out of there.
Yeah,
I
it
was
seems like Aegon. Sorry, just like Aemond has people around the dragons. I don't know that would go unremarked.
I found
I do
myself
wonder.
Do you wonder, Adam?
No, I'm just saying I do wonder. Like, is the dragon pit guarded? That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I don't know. Can you deny a Targaryen their dragon? Like, I don't know. How does that work?
I don't think. I mean, again, I thought it would be super cool. I was hyped the possibility of Helena on Dreamfire, but alas, I do not think that's going to happen. I think they will make an excuse not to have to put another dragon on screen. I did find myself annoyed at Alicent in this scene and feeling kind of bad for Aemond, even though I shouldn't because he's a bad boy and he just killed thousands of people. But like he's not incorrect. Like what he is saying to them, it's like they're going to kill us. Like, what do you think is going to happen when the city falls? Like they sent an assassin at the beginning of the season that killed your grandchild. Like, do you think there's going to be any mercy in store for us? Like, when they conquer the city, they're gonna chop our heads off. Get on the damn dragon. I was kind of like in his like from his perspective and in his position, like I understand his annoyance that it's like, okay, is anybody gonna help me fight the war? No? Nobody is. Does anybody have alternative suggestions? I guess not. Just not like this. Not like this. End of rant.
I think that this whole season is just a bunch of these people trying to. I guess the point of the season is these people talk a lot about wanting to fight wars, but don't actually want to fight wars.
Aemon is carrying the Greens. Like this is so true.
He is, but he did that thing where he was like, oh no, my ideas, like putting down Laris, like just immediately taking charge without like getting rid of Alicent, from the council. Like I think that I actually totally agree with you, Katie, that he is right in this situation, but it's one of those kind of like slightly delicious, like boy who cried dragon, situations where like maybe you should have thought about coalition governing before now,
Yes, he has isolated himself and he stands alone. He doesn't have anybody who's really left to help him. But even so, Alicent, they're gonna chop your head off, girl. Like, I mean, obviously she makes her bid for power at the end of the episode, but in the moment, I don't know, like blindfold Helena, get her some noise-canceling headphones, get her on the dragon.
Just trying to imagine her with like a set up pair of bows, working on the tapestry.
No, I agree with you guys. I think he's right. I did like the scene because I thought that, Alicent finally being a little bit of a parent here. I mean, like, what else could she do in this scene? But it was nice to see them interacting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time Helena and Aemon have really spoken to each other, and I did find it moving when she tells him that he's going to die. Like every time we get foreshadowing of the battle above the God's Eye, I sit up straighter in my seat. Good stuff.
Yes, totally agree.
They're spoiling too much of it now at this point.
Yeah, I think all they need to do at this point is just make sure that there's a map and we see Harrenhal, and at some point someone points out this thing right here is the God's Eye, like during a battle or maybe when Aemon takes the place. so that it's really clear where it is, and then let's just not mention it again.
I actually think the foreshadowing is a nice way for, because like on TikTok, like there are so many people posting about like the books and like what these scenes mean as far as the book story goes and all that, and I see a lot of comments that are like, oh great, you're spoiling the end for me, but this is a nice way to like kind of spoil the ending without like kind of like getting the non-book readers like on the same page as the book readers are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have to spread those crumbs for people that aren't going to go watch a YouTube video or something or read the books. And and every time it's been brought up or foreshadowed, I've really liked it. I'm just I'm worried we're going to ring the bell too much, but it's hopefully not a season 3 thing. Hopefully it's a season 4 thing. So hopefully it's quite a ways away, and people will kind of forget until there's some before the episode, sort of thing in 4 years or something. So what do you guys think of Alicent's journey to Dragonstone?
You mean her conversation with Rhaenyra?
Yeah, that whole bit, like the fact that she went, the circumstances, the things she said, the fact that she's leaving again.
Well acted, well written. I don't know how I feel about Alicent being a turncloak. I don't think it's going to pan out, obviously, at the beginning of next season, as Aegon is gone, so that promise has already been broken. But her like betraying her whole family, this is where it's like, okay, Alicent's already a completely different character than she is in the story. This is almost a step too far for me. Of like, then what is who are the Greens after this? It's just Aemond, I guess. And yeah, this.
And why are we at war?
Yeah, I'm kind of 50-50 on it because it was a good scene. And I felt like it was a good mirror of their previous interaction in I almost said the Chantry, that's Dragon Age, in the Sept, back earlier in the season. Yeah, again, this is like, it's a thing of like making the characters make what is a morally right, like a more morally right decision that they probably should have, and not having convictions in their own desires. Like it's both, it kind of weakens her for me. Like I kind of wanted her to hold out to the bitter end.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of the reaction that we're getting from a lot of people, is like they've tried to humanize her to the point that she'll still be a interesting, viable character for a couple more seasons or however long she's going to be around. But I don't know if that's the right call. Like she had a great speech here, and I love Olivia Cook, and like I liked the scene, but I don't know if I liked what it did for the character. For a character that went from, basically in the books is like, hey, we have to treason because I'm going to protect my family and fuck everyone else, to here, like they already made it so that it was Viserys' dying wish more so, but she also the whole time was thinking, well, my family's going to die as soon as Rhaenyra's crowned, which never really made sense other than the fact that it's what Otto put in her head as a child. She could have been less of a shit to Rhaenyra. She could have talked it out with her. She could have not made this happen, but I think, Otto puts it in her head because in his head, he's always going to try to have Aegon crowned, right? That's his grandson. It's the man. Like, he's like, oh yeah, no, she's going to kill you because I'm going to start war. But to her, like, why does it make sense? Like, you guys were such good friends. Like, if this didn't need to happen, which is the tragedy of all this in the first place, right? And I don't know. It felt weird. There is a shot. I think I might have posted it, but I think it's like shot after shot where towards the end of this scene, it shows Rhaenyra like through. I think it's. I don't know if it's. It looks like a wine rack or something almost, but I think it's like scrolls and stuff, and you kind of see her And then they posted it's like Rhaenyra is kind of shackled by her duty and the past and all that, and she's kind of chained to what she has to do next. And then you see Alicent like walking towards the ocean, free as a bird. What is the line she says? Let me see, because I wrote it down somewhere. She says, let's see. Nope, that's Damon. She said, "Let them think what they must. I am at last myself," which I thought was beautiful. But I don't know that it fit, but I liked it.
See, I think that's what Alicent has been trying to get to her whole like time on the show, right? Like, this is, she tells Otto, like, I don't know who when after the whole knife incident, she's like, I don't know if I'm happy. I never had a chance to think about this, So I think that, I don't know, this made honestly like a lot of sense to me, and I liked that. Technicalities of how people are traveling aside, and actually, if they were going to do this, I kind of wish that they had established it being a little bit easier, because especially like with the blockade of King's Landing, it's like, nobody can enter or leave unless like you really want to,
right? But it also makes more sense that Alicent does this than to me than Rhaenyra went to King's Landing, because Rhaenyra is like the number one, and Alicent is nobody. And she's not nobody, but at this point, like, she disappears, it doesn't change the war.
No, she's been very sidelined. I guess I just think that, Rhaenyra really calls her out on all the stuff that she has done. Like, I feel like I've read most of what Rhaenyra says online, as far as like arguments against Alicent go. And Alicent kind of owns up to it, and she is forced to make a decision, and I don't know. I thought it was a very good character scene in that light. I didn't think it was kind of over nicing her in a way that I feel like they've done with Rhaenyra sometimes.
Where do you think this sets up for season 3, which with the eventual taking of King's Landing, and we assume Alicent will be there, right? It's not going to go well. Like,
she'll be there with Massaria and Damon and Otto eventually.
Party
oh my gosh!
King's
Wait,
Landing.
is this going to be a throuple? Not with Otto, but
I think it's going to get sexy in the Red Keep.
Oh my gosh!
I assume
if her and Rhaenyra have some sort of tryst,
it's
I
gotta
don't
happen,
even know.
right?
I don't even know what to do with that. Cole's gone, right? It'd be so weird.
I don't know. So I think Katie's right. I think the thing that puts the crimp in this plan from Alicent's perspective is the fact that she gets back to King's Landing and the king is gone, and I feel like Rhaenyra is going to blame her for that, hopefully, unless...
Right, it's going to make her look like a liar. Right,
exactly. Like, you're just trying to have things both ways or whatever, which is what she's accused of. But after that point, I'm really unclear on how... I'm so excited that everyone's going to be, back in the Red Keep, and we're going to get, like, this, hopefully, like, the peak of drama that we had in season 1 again, but I have absolutely no idea.
So confusing.
I agree with you, Michal, that like this is where her character has been leading within the show itself, like the show as a text. I think this makes perfect sense. I think they've done a good job, like laying the stones for the path. Like, even like on a cinematography level, like she starts out the season like bathing herself, like sending all her maids away and then scrubbing at her skin in a bath. The rat catchers are killed. The keep is filthy. She feels debased. She has to go out into nature. She bathes in a lake, and at the end, she is set free amidst the ocean and the sky. Like, visually, writing-wise, character-wise, it all makes sense. I just don't like it. I just, to me, and I feel like a hypocrite
Look,
because like they've already changed her so much that I shouldn't feel offended that they've made this huge change, especially when they've done so much work to make it make sense. It doesn't quite sit right with me.
I think you just took the words out of my mouth. Like I know that for what they've done, this makes sense, but I still want like that. I want that real nasty woman that Alicent took the throne. You know, like I want the like book Alicent who's just this nasty character. Maybe I'm not like allowing her to be this like multifaceted character that they've tried to give us. I don't know.
I think you could argue that this is soon for this degree of catharsis from Alicent.
The main issue here is that Alicent and Rhaenyra really became non-characters by this point in the book, right? Like in the book, Alicent basically disappears. She goes, she in Battle of King's Land after taking over King's Landing, she gets arrested, and she's just out of the story. Rhaenyra, okay, you get a little bit more because she gets worse and progressively worse and worse and more horrible, and she has a little, I guess, more things to do. But story-wise, in the book, they get put to the side as characters in favor of a bunch of weirdos that the show hasn't even introduced yet, or barely. Yeah, the Perry or whatever. Anyways, but the show has introduced these two characters from the very beginning as the main characters. They're the people you have to that's on the billboards. Their faces are the first ones. The actors' names are number one in the cast sheet. So you can't have that story from the book. They have to. Yeah, they have to change. They have to. Yeah, and hence they have to be more interesting. They have to. And I think one thing that they really struggled this season is, well, these two characters fundamentally aren't doing anything in the books. How do we adapt that into still making them the main characters of a show, in which they're the ones not doing anything? And it's difficult. It's a difficult act to balance. Actually, I agree with Michal. I think they did a pretty good job with Alicent in terms of her characterization. Her role in the story is a different that's a different matter, whether you like that or not. Rhaenyra, I feel like they struggled. They sort of fumbled with they sort of stalled too much on sort of she doesn't want to actually fight the war and which becomes indecisive. All of that. I think the main issue, I guess, is the plot itself sort of hit pause throughout all of this, and hence we have, I guess, the general perception is that throughout this entire season nothing happened, which is wrong because a lot of things happened. It's just that because these are the two main characters we're following, and they're not. The show creators are trying to find things for them to do, but they're not actually doing things.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say stuff like that, like nothing happened, we got nowhere. Yeah, that's obviously not true. And we forget like Rook's Rest was not that long ago. Even that is a huge significant thing. But the sentiment is, I think is hyperbole. I think what it's just people are saying like this was not satisfying. The place we're leaving off is not satisfying.
Yeah, it does feel weird to have a story about a civil war, like the bloodiest, like most terrible war that this continent has ever seen. And it is led by two protagonists who don't want to do the war and spend almost every scene talking about we're not going to do it, we're not going to do it, we're not going to do it. And it's like, again, it's their choice. That's how they want to write the characters. But personally, I don't know. It makes turns into like a Cold War situation. That was kind of like the gist of most of the season is like trying to avoid the conflict. And then like, even at the end, it's like, okay, I guess we're gonna strike Old Town and Lannisport, maybe if we get to do that. Yeah, I think their restraint is their biggest weakness with some of these characters. Like, I kind of want people to act on their baser desires more than I do their moral convictions. I want people to be nastier. That's what I'm saying.
It's like, get on with it. Like, come on. We know what,
Yeah.
Let's see some war crimes. Shit. Even Damon's war crimes counts were pretty low. I mean, he let the Blackwoods do it pretty much all for him this season. That's not my Damon. But I think as I was watching the episode, I'm like, oh, they're pulling this thread. That's why I was like, I said during the recap, it was like, oh, gullet. Okay, going for the gullet. They're setting it up right away. Gonna have gullet. Didn't want that, but you know what? It's gonna be awesome. And then like, oh wait, we're going to Lannisport. Or maybe they go to Lannisport and the gullet happens. Maybe there's a whole bunch of threads they start pulling. Like, okay, no, sheep stealer. Maybe the sheep stealer thing is gonna be our big moment. Like they kept pulling these threads, and then when you got towards the end, and you're like, oh, they're just not gonna do any of them. This puzzling, but like someone said, it's a 70-minute promo for season 3. Like, they could have released this trailer at Comic-Con and saved us a year. Which, I mean, it's not true, but...
Now, if you remember back in that Game of Thrones, or like, especially Game of Thrones early seasons, that's actually kind of what all their finale episodes are kind of like. They're just set up for next season. The problem is, usually the episode 9, something major happens.
You have Blackwater, you have... Yeah. And we didn't even need to see all of the battle like Blackwater. We didn't see a ton of it, but it was great, right?
Sure. And that's the thing. They felt like this the sowing of the seeds was a big moment, but it's not really, right? That's not. And I think especially for book readers, we know
not unless we'd gotten into it or something. I mean, you could have had Silverwing and Vagar getting into it briefly or something. You could have added something that maybe, okay, it's a stalemate and they back off. You could have added something exciting like that and then, oh, wow, this was something that happened. And like the moment that we got at the end of that episode was Aemond being like, turning as hard as he can, like for dear life.
For me, I feel like the sewing, because I've been thinking about this, because the sewing is very dramatic and it is spectacular. I think it might come down to the characters involved. When Rook's Rest has all the all the stars basically, except for Alicent and Rhaenyra, and it has such like portentous like negative consequences. And the sewing is kind of, you're in a dark room with a bunch of people that you don't know, and Two Faces you sort of know, and then Rhaenyra looking down on it all, and I wonder if that's where some of the emotional heft is lost, because it's a great scene. I think it's phenomenally done, but I agree that it doesn't quite hit the same like nerve, I think, that I don't know, that I wanted in kind of like a big spectacular final act tentpole event.
Yeah, and for all the scenes we got from like Ulf and Hugh, we didn't actually get that much development of who they are, what they are. I feel like Hugh, since claiming Vermithor, we've gotten a bit more out of him. We like him. Same thing with Adam. We're seeing a bit more of him. But Ulf, they didn't really give us any hint that he was going to be suddenly this real shit. He's just kind of a lowlife at the bar, but
I saw that coming from a mile away.
No, I mean we all knew that he's not the greatest guy, but he's putting his feet up in the fucking council and talking back to the fucking queen, and I'm
because here's the thing, he's the smartest guy in that room. Adam and Hugh are just waiting to be given more, whereas and Ulf is
Ulf is a homeless man who gets free drinks because of his hair. No,
he's setting the terms for what his, he's I'll offer you, apologies, later. I'm not going to ask for permission, I think he's
the best line he has is when she says that's, a knight doesn't comport themselves or whatever this way. And he's better make me a knight then.
Yes. And that, why that's so brilliant? Because it's I'm sorry, I have a dragon. It's bigger than your dragon. What, are you not going to make me a knight? Are we going to play this game? He's I hate the guy,
I feel for a guy that laid down and was about to die, and Silverwing just happened to be sure, why not? I feel it would have taken him a little time to get over the shock of it all, and like
I mean, you're also talking about a guy who is not sure he's Targaryen and yet has spent his entire life in Flea Bottom bragging about being Targaryen and drinking for free off of it. So
yeah, but somehow he has the smarts enough to be all over this situation and be like, you owe me, like, I don't know.
I think he is. I agree with Michal. I think he is the smartest person in the room in an unexpected way. He knows his value. Like,
yeah,
Adam and Hugh are cowed by royalty, whereas Ulf, who is literally nobody a week ago, suddenly has one of the biggest nukes on the planet. Like, any illusion of supremacy of the monarchy is gone, and he knows it. And like, he's momentarily cowed by Jace, but not really. Like, he shoulder checks him on the way out. Like, I mean, you could say that he's being extremely foolhardy. Like, Rhaenyra could just say, like, arrest him, behead him. You know, he doesn't have silver wing at dinner. But even so, like, he sees through it very quickly and understands, like, the power that has been redistributed because of the dragon that he now has.
Honestly, she should do that. I mean, we all know that. Like,
it is insane that Rhaenyra does not put him in his place.
Because it would immediately send a message to the other two. Because you don't need all three.
Because you know what it is? It's so important that she's wearing her crown in that scene. Because she's like, I'm the queen. I'm wearing my crown. You know? And Ulf is like, so the fuck what? You know? Like, from Ulf's perspective also, like, the way he was talking about, like, I don't remember the exact, but, like, Rhaenyra's his niece or something. Like, you know? So he's like,
yeah, she would be, right?
Yeah, so he's like, in a family, like, setup, which is what we can no longer pretend is not true, I outrank you, girl, you know? Like, Jace, you little brown-haired kid, like, I'm your, like, great uncle. The elder. Yeah. So, I mean, I really, he's so annoying, but I got a huge kick out of, like, him just like pissing all over the paper of this, construct.
Yeah, I guess for me, I thought it was odd that he got to it so quickly, but I think you're convincing me. I think you're right. I feel like maybe this must have come up from the fact that he spent most of his time with his buddies and with everybody, basically being like, look, I'm better than all of y'all because I'm a bastard of the king. So he's kind of lived with that energy, even though he's done nothing to really deserve that. And then, like, what does he do? How did he make money? How does he live other than getting free drinks from people? Who knows? But he's sort of like lived with that fake it till you make it kind of energy. For who knows how long.
That he's going to get a bad wake up call in the next season. Like, I was just thinking, like, if Daemon had been in the room, I don't think he would have walked away alive. And I feel like he's probably going to someone's going to put him in his place. He's going to wisen up a little and realize maybe I should be smarter and then turn on them. Like, at some point, obviously, he's going to become 100%. A huge problem for the Blacks. But I think, like, his reason for turning is probably going to be, oh, they insulted me. I'll just take my dragon somewhere else.
Yeah, no, this is a character that makes...
Which, good for him.
This is a character that makes perfect sense. You can see exactly where the trajectory is, which is... I mean, you can't say that for all the other characters. Like, I don't know what Daemon is going to happen to him next season. It's uncharted territories. It's characters.
Yeah, or what they're going to do.
Yeah. Hugh, maybe. Yeah, that's a little bit more complicated. But no, like, this is a character that's very clearly set up for a very specific role. It's a very important role, and I'm glad. I mean, maybe we could have spent a little bit more time with him, but I don't think it's necessary. Actually, I think it's very clear who this character is, and now that he's here, what he's going to do.
But I mean, my point is, we didn't really care about him getting a dragon.
But that's it. A character that you shouldn't, that you don't want to get a dragon, suddenly end up with a dragon, and that's the problem.
Oh, it sends the message right away.
But that's also part of the hypocrisy of all this, right? Because you're telling me Aemon should have a dragon. You're telling me Daemon should have a dragon. No, like, there is no intra-Targaryen vetting system. This is just now expanded.
Well, there wouldn't be.
Right, exactly. So, like, this is just expanded the ridiculousness.
This is actually the part in which that was lost when Nettles isn't got rid of Nettles. They, I guess, added a little bit more with Ulf in that very questionable parentage. They
took away his hair too.
Guy's the son of. Sort of. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Again, it exposes all of this as bullshit. That's the part in which I feel really bad when
Well,
Nettles isn't character.
by bullshit, are you saying you don't think you have to be a Targaryen to claim a dragon at all, or you don't have to have any dragon blood?
Yeah, no. Yeah. This whole dragon superiority, this Targaryen superiority thing is complete bullshit. That these are people that lucked into their nobility.
Well, they have the system and years of training. But I don't think that there's nothing to Valyrian blood. I don't think that that's true.
No, I mean, no. Okay. So I disagree. I think Valyrian blood is bullshit. I think they use their political positions. That's whole.
Oh, I know, but I mean, like we have Dany birthing dragons. We have a lot of things that go on around Targaryens that are not something that you would see from common folk, or maybe it's just Westerosi versus Valyrian. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's specifically. That's a specific
Daenerys thing is very specific, but in the show, aren't they all immune to fire?
I mean, I kind of agree with.
Isn't that how you could just test them?
Like, I think there's a lot of emphasis put on the fact that like you need some drop of Valyrian blood to train or like bond with a dragon, because that's what the Valyrians did. They like bred themselves or did some magic bullshit, get their blood intermingles with dragons. That's why they.
Yeah, there's been a lot of sniffing going on too. So it's like, can they sniff the blood? Like, like dogs can sniff cancer and bombs and shit. Like maybe Targaryen blood has a smell.
Again, personally, what the books has is personally is that again the whole Targaryen myth is just because a random girl just fed this.
I think that's an important. I think that's why one of the reasons why Nettles is so important in the story is because. Yeah, like there's a good chance she has 0 Targaryen blood. We don't know, and at least introducing that possibility is really important for the audience. Yeah. And if you're saying they did that with all for the audience, I don't think they did. Like it's questionable, yeah. But he's espousing that this is his mother and this is his bloodline, and I think for the average viewer, they're gonna be like, well, yeah, obviously he's a bastard.
Okay, that's fine, but it's again, that's the part in which that was lost from the books. The fact that there's no Nettles that I really, really didn't like. At least I can see a little bit of that maybe creeping back in. That's all I'd say.
And like speaking of Nettles, it's not too late. Like, well, I know that's like me like being hopeful or whatever.
Are you saying that Rhaena is going to meet a shepherd girl out on the mountainside?
You couldn't tell, but Nettles was under Sheepstealer's wing and has already been claimed, and you just couldn't see it. It was off screen. They literally could do that if they spend the next 2 years or the next 6 months before they start shooting and go, oh, that was not a good choice. They could fix it. I don't think they intend to. I don't think that's the story they're writing. But there is still room to be like, oh, hey, here's this person named Nettles that she runs into. And you're like, what the fuck was Rhaena's story? We don't know. She's gone. Like, or something. And it would actually be an interesting element to introduce of someone who's like, oh, well, I found this dragon. I was kind of interested and I've tamed him. Like, I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know about this civil war. And you could have Rhaena like convincing her to join them. Like I said, I don't expect that is what they're going to do, but it's like, hey, she didn't write it, so you're telling me there's a chance.
I don't know if I'm the only one here, but I feel like I don't know if they would put in Nettles at this point, not just from like a story perspective, but I haven't seen too much discourse about it outside of here, so I don't know if there's a lot of fans wanting.
There is a lot. If you look on, like, there's a Facebook group that shares a lot of memes, and there's a couple other kind of groups that are more like show oriented or more casual oriented, and it does get brought up. A lot of the conversation is like, it doesn't matter, from a lot of people, but it gets brought up quite a bit. Gotcha. So I don't know I don't know if they make it bad or pay attention at all. So
maybe I got to fix my algorithm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's, like I said, that's something that may not be on their radar at all. They may not have any idea, but there have been articles, there are comments, I mean, I don't know. It's a character that I'm sure they discussed at some point. And maybe there will be someone in the writer's room this year that's like, hey, do we need to revisit that? I could be wrong. Maybe they're going to be completely oblivious and they've already said fuck that, and they're just going to ignore everything. And I don't think that media and TV shows, movies should necessarily be bowing to the fans' wishes or whatever. We've seen what that can cause sometimes, but sometimes I think they should listen. So I don't know. It didn't happen yet, so I'm not gonna like full outrage just yet. But I will say, Sheep Stealer, because we assume that's who that is, was looking ratty as fuck. It's like his or her wings or whatever are like look like a bunch of like fucking like fingernails that have grown too long and are not getting cut.
Yeah,
contrast like Silver Wing that's like beautifully like not a scratch on her wings.
Yeah, when they pull back, it's like he's got mange or like dragon vitiligo spottiness all over him, which is cool. Like I like that he's like this ratty, like scruffy wild dragon. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I want to see like the cannibal, or I want to see some of the other, even if they don't get claimed. It would be kind of cool to, just to see them even briefly.
You see that pile of HBO money over there, Adam?
They've already got a lot of the money for these dragon models. What's one more? Take Vermithor and change the color.
Zaslav needs another yacht. Are you going to give Zaslav another yacht?
I think we all have already by watching his show, right? Isn't that how money works? All the lists I see of people in the industry making money, he's always like towards the top. So,
But he needs more.
They always need more of it. At this point, it's about power and the ability to cancel perfectly good shows or make them not exist. I guess that's a separate discussion, but I do kind of wonder, like, is the prestige era of HBO winding down? Like, will eventually HBO just be like all documentaries and reruns and reality TV, or like where I mean, they're still producing a lot of good stuff, and we have Dunk and Egg coming, which I guess they're shooting right now, or I didn't realize that, but it's supposed to be coming next year, right?
Yeah, they said 2025. I mean, this is not the only HBO show that's had issues. There's the whole Euphoria. That's like I would say their biggest other show right now. That's also been a shit show as far as timing and things that are happening outside, I think, of the show even. But something's clearly not working.
I mean, it's not just HBO though. It's
right. It's Max.
And it's all of TV. So
true.
Yeah, the landscape is changing, and I mean, like, people are not buying 50 streaming services, obviously, and then the strikes and the cost of production and a lot of these big streaming like HBO and Paramount and services that are fairly new that have a huge subscriber base are like, we're losing money, which is interesting. So I do think that like the era of like all the content in the world and like just really good quality shows all everywhere you look with great actors and adaptations of the craziest shit, I do think that's at least slowing. I mean, I don't know where it's going to go eventually. Hopefully it stabilizes, and what that means for HBO. I mean, hopefully it means there's going to still be HBO. But they could decide, that's not a brand that we give a shit about, right? I don't know.
We are but players or pieces, not players, etc.
I am willing to play my part and pay for ad-free content. And you can use code Vassals somewhere. I don't know where, but you can probably use it for a free trial or a discount or something like that. HBO, if you're listening, we will pimp you, but it's going to cost you. Yeah. Let's see. What else haven't we touched on? What about Corliss and Alan? What about their? He finally
so
loaded that
good.
ship, and like this was like probably the maybe not necessarily the only, but like this was like the big moment of like catharsis in the episode where I was like, oh, finally. Ugh. He's been loading that ship all season, and Alan finally has his say, and Corliss still goes just short of fully embracing him. He gets dressed down though in a proper way, and I'm interested to see where this relationship goes. Like if this is something that can be repaired next season. It's like, how is this going to go? Because I feel like if he had just said, "I'm going to make you my heir," he'd be like, "Buddy, you offer everyone, you're offering high tide to everyone. Like, just stop." Like, I don't know what it's worth anymore. You just keep offering it to people. So I thought that this hit all the right notes.
It's such a good breakdown. Like,
Yeah.
'cause he doesn't get loud, really. He just gets more intense, and like the way he breaks, it's almost like a little kid. Like he can't quite, like, his words, he can't catch up with his own words. And like it hits. It's like, I watched you walk around with your son while I was starving, and you guys were buying sweetmeats for dessert. Like, insane. Like, and it totally reads. It's like, why would I want your help after all this time? It was terrifically acted.
We also did not. I didn't view Corliss in this way as the Lord of High Tide, because his voyages were so successful. He's one of the richest lord in the Seven Kingdoms, and I was like, oh shit, people are starving, including like his own bastard children. Like, when did this happen? Like, he was so distracted by living the good life, basically, that this happened. I was like, I didn't realize that this was a situation. Now, in their culture, this is kind of just always something that sort of happens with the peasantry, but I don't know. I guess I figured they had plenty of money, and they got fish right there. Like, I don't know. But this was a little unexpected.
It's a nice pointing out that small folks exist, and they have feelings, and there's this contrast between these high lords and your stupid concerns, and us people down below, where you see us as your pawns. You can just tell us whatever you want to do, and then when you need us, you force us to do these sort of things. Well, we have feelings. That's, to me, sort of,
who are the small folk anywhere?
I like the small.
They might be your son.
Hey,
they might be. Yeah, just
yeah. Well, they are your son. You're the son that you never wanted to acknowledge and sort of want to disappear, but now you suddenly need him. Well, guess what? Sometimes I don't want to be
and
around.
this kind of shatters my headcanon, because like from the book, my headcanon was that like Corliss had these bastards, or they were Laenor's bastards, whatever, and he knew about them, and they were probably just sort of stashed but lived okay. And then when he loses the rest of his heirs and family, he kind of brings them up, and everybody has a good time. Not the case.
Yeah, it's a searing indictment of Corliss, and I love it. I also, just like Katie, I love the fact that like what triggers Alan is like, oh, like, I'm trying to help you, and it's like, I'm sorry, that is because Alan is such a dignified character, and he has such, you can tell that like that's kind of what he places his own value on, like his ability to perform his life like without making a fuss and being dignified, and like whatever Corliss is going to do what he's going to do, but I'm going to be the best man that I can be. And then to see him have to expose that almost to Corliss, because Corliss is so clueless and like has been so cruel. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, and it's not even that he's trying to help him. It's like he's being like, well, he's not bringing him into the fold. He's just sort of like, you're going to be the second mate or the first mate on my ship, like my number 2 on the ship. That's pretty cool. Like, he's not bringing him into the family. He's not acknowledging him. He's not trying to really make up for anything. He is throwing him a bone. It's a big bone in their world, but he would much rather have any other ship or be the captain of any other ship, right? And Corliss is stunned.
It's a good character change. I mean, Alan doesn't really become important in the books until much later, and when he does, he's kind of philanderer, like a more charismatic. Like, this character is, I mean, the Alan in the show, he's charismatic, but he's charismatic in a quieter way. And yeah, like I was impressed by him, and he's become a character that I'm more interested in because of it.
Is there a rumor that we're getting like a spin-off show of like Corliss's travels, or did I just like fall into like a weird?
The sea snake thing is one, like 7 Voyages or something, is supposedly one of the like 10 shows that are in development of some stage.
That one's supposed to be animated, as far as I know.
Ooh.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but they also were going to do Dunk and Egg animated, and then they were like, actually, we'll make a real television show.
Yeah, because Dunk and Egg lends itself to a lower budget live action production for the most part. There's no dragons to spend all that money on, but I do think this world in high quality animation, there's a lot of potential there, depending on what you give us. Because isn't there a animated show in the works about Valyria, about the fall of Valyria?
Hope not.
I think George talked about that.
Oh, George. Like, there is such a thing as brand dilution. And I don't know. A lot of times when they talk about these other projects, like maybe a couple interest me, but a lot of them, it's like I don't know what story you could get out of the premise of like some of these pitches.
Who's the guy that challenged the Valyrians and like killed some of the dragons, and then like they sent like 1,000 dragons after him or whatever? I can't remember his name now. I don't know why I'm blanking it, but that would be fun, But yeah, we don't need everything explained to us, Can't hold all the doors.
A lot of these are random concepts that sounds cool, and then you start to actually think about a story and characters, and then you find something and you realize you have.
Yeah, I feel like as one-off type stuff that like maybe would have a lot of action that you could animate and just look cool, like as a quick movie or something, would make more sense to me as something than like something you try to present as like a top line product for HBO or something. There's the Lord of the Rings doing the War of the Rohirrim. I think it's gonna be in theaters actually, but that's coming out I think around Christmas, and that's animated. Like, I don't have any idea really what the story is, but it's Rohan, and I'm like that's probably worth an hour and a half.
Speaking of brand dilution.
Oh yeah, I mean 100%. But like, if there's like some massive battle of the Rohirrim animated and it looks fucking cool as shit, I'll watch that at home. Absolutely.
That's the problem, Adam. We're watching at home.
Yeah, like I don't know if I go see that in the theater necessarily, but
I mean, I've only seen Dune and Dune 2 in the past 5 years of movies. So.
Oh, you haven't gone to the theater much?
Nope.
Yeah, I feel like it's been doing better. I mean, I think Deadpool and like put up huge numbers or whatever. Yeah, still struggling to find some better movies, I think, but yeah, we could just wait for it to be on HBO, right?
Exactly.
Let's see. Anything else that we want to touch on? We've got
I don't know if anyone else wants to, but I want to talk about Kristen Cole.
Oh my god, yeah.
We got his broken man speech, as people are calling it.
This was like the best scene.
I mean, I don't know.
Show.
But you thought this was the best scene of the episode?
Yes.
What did you think about how it opened up with just a sword at his throat? I felt like I missed something. I know that it's been obvious that him and Allison were, doing their bits, but why didn't this happen sooner? Like, what was the scene before this? Like, were they just at dinner and he pulled out the sword? Like, it was a little jarring, but the speech was good.
Michal, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, I do think that there's something missing. I just read the missing beat as, like, Gawain had been becoming suspicious of this, like, for whatever reason, and then he sees the nose buried in the handkerchief, and it says A on it, and he's like, "Oh my god!" That's how I read that.
Didn't he literally see her give him the favor though?
No,
like he was public about it. I thought.
Well, he was public about it, but I'm not sure if Gawain had left the yard at that point.
I think he saw it, but also, like...
I'll have to go look at it.
I think it's more the fact that he's, like, looking at it and, like, smelling it and,
yes.
And he's like, "Is this a bridge too far, sir?"
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not that's way beyond courtly love, Yeah,
I don't know. I was going to say he's giving it, like, the old Biden hair smell. But like, I don't know.
God, that's so dated, Adam.
It is, but it just made me think. Another funny thought, but anyway.
No, like, I think that I think that this is enough and we don't need another scene. I think it could, like, I would extrapolate that being on the road is hard, and, like, he's probably seen him do this multiple times at this point, but I don't think it's really needed. I think that
I don't necessarily think that we needed more to, like, make this scene happen. I just feel like maybe this was placed, like, a couple episodes ago, or, like, closer to some of those moments. Right. It feels very disjointed from all that, because we didn't even see Cole at all last episode, right?
Right, and I think that that's mostly just due to how this show has been, like, this whole season. It's not necessarily the scene, it's that this...
It's, editing and placement and pacing issues, and, like I said, I don't hate this scene at all. I just... Like, I just was like, whoa, where's the sword coming from? What's going on? Like,
you could put any of these scenes, really, except for, like, a couple of them, like, at any point throughout this season, and it would narratively make sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the thing is, like, the reason I love this scene, I mean, apart from the fact that it is actually written really beautifully, I think Sarah has a great ear for this kind of, like, medieval style dialogue. It's just so, like, it's such an inversion, I think, of what we've expected from Cole, but also from what Gawain expects from Cole. Like, Gawain is not... He's prepared for a lot of stuff, He's prepared for Cole to be, like, an up-jumped, nobody. He's prepared for him to be, like, a surprisingly good battle commander, or a guy who can sense that a dragon's coming, or, like, whatever. He's not prepared for the everything is nothing. Like, he's not like the exchange about, like, oh, that's like a grim philosophy, and Cole's like, I have no philosophy. Like, we're all going to die. This is, nothing matters. And that the like, the way Gawain, like, sits down after that, to me, like, just seemed like a guy who's, like, not just scared of what's going on, but also is like, there's nobody driving the car here, like, yeah.
Yeah, I used to have honor before I saw them dragons. It's like, oh. It's like, did you get an arrow in the knee too, Cole? That's a much more dated reference, but Shut up. But
I literally have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, well. Skyrim. Anyway, the listeners will love it. They'll get it. But I do feel like it makes sense what he's saying. But I also, again, I don't know why this conversation wasn't placed like on the road back from Rook's Rest or something. Or
Because we had to know that to lead up to the next episode, whenever that will be, that they are out there.
They're out and about. And Daeron has an army, and let's see, Aemon's gonna be doing shit all over the place. I mean, they're still gonna have a lot of men in the field when King's Landing gets taken. I mean, that's sort of the whole point of King's Landing. It's like, aha, you're not home. Like, yes, but like that means our army's not home. Yeah.
Also, someone left the back door open.
Oh my gosh, who could have possibly let us into King's Landing? No one. Anyone can get in and out. You've been showing us that all year.
we all just put on a Linda Massey's cloak.
Yeah, Rhaenyra doesn't need to take King's Landing with dragons. Like, she just needs to get her army into the set. Like,
find a few boats to sneak through these boats.
Yeah, I just imagine it's like a line of ants just like stretching onto the horizon, just like sneaking up the coastline into the sept. Like, all right, are we ready? Oh, it's gonna be confusing. Well, I guess at least the Greens have chosen a different color arms, so it's hard.
I'm just really sad about Kristen and Alicent never meeting again, probably.
Well, I don't know. You never know. As easily as
true.
She goes for a bath, she might be Rhaenyra's prisoner, and they might be on good terms. So she's able to take a walk and runs into her love, Kristen Cole, once more.
I mean, I'm not. Well, I don't know how. Like, I'm not sure if she's down bad for him. Like the way she was framing that as like, I took comfort in another, is not necessarily like true love, but he is head over heels, and it's just like, it's fascinating to me. I
don't know that it's true love, but I feel like she is way into him, still wants him, but her honor, and she's got all of these conflicting feelings. Like when she's very dismissive and asserts her power over him, I feel like that's more like pushing herself to that than how she actually feels, like doing what she thinks she's supposed to do, sort of situation. I don't think that it's like, oh, he's my forever love, but all the ladies seem to love Cole. He's, very popular.
And Cole's desire for women has led to grief after grief.
Well, I mean, it wasn't his desire in the first place. It was Rhaenyra that basically forced him.
Oh, you don't have to tell me.
and then, I mean, I'm like not trying to defend Kristen Cole here, but she basically forces him, and then he just gets real nasty over it. Like, bro, let it go. Like, you could have been a loyal bro, and maybe she would have thrown some your way, from time to time. But instead, he's walking around with Alicent like, oh, that whore. She will ruin the 7 kingdoms because she opened her legs and then closed them for me. Like, oh,
I especially like that he calls Alicent his North Star. Like, because that felt very like. I mean, I got that sense very strongly that he was like, almost like a compass without true north, just like circling. And then Alicent was like me, and he was like Alicent, and that has just been how they've been for like 12 years or whatever. It's sad. I don't know. I feel like it's very like I don't know.
We do brush over the fact that he was going to unalive himself. I just said that out loud.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean,
please don't.
I tried
You're not going to get kicked off
work.
of TikTok.
It doesn't work. Yeah, freaking Chinese government trying to take my words. We got freedom of speech here on VOK. But
no, you don't.
I How dare you, baby?
I'm from Hong Kong. I know all about their reach.
green Stan Bing. We know what's going to happen. Yeah, I do think like he was literally going to kill himself because of how bad he felt about breaking his vows as a knight. Like, I mean, like they in the stories like this in these universes, they write songs about someone like that. Yeah, I don't know. Like he's another character. Both Cole and Allison are two characters from the story. They're very one dimensional, but like they're shitty, evil fucking people. And you're like, maybe that's not the whole story, sure, but they definitely have given them a lot more that sometimes makes it harder to hate them. So
I feel like Cole is still an evil person.
he's still pretty shitty.
Yeah. But it's just that he also now has PTSD. So
I mean, I don't think
Dragon
he's evil.
induced.
I think he is a thoughtless person who has, you know.
No,
But I mean,
he's a fanatic.
listen, I know that there are people who think that Allison, like, it believes in the faith of the seven, ergo is evil. So, like, you know.
I mean, look.
Yeah, we keep the old gods around these parts.
I think with Cole, I'm interested in what they'll do with his character because in the books, his next scene is he's dead, right?
Yeah, and very ignominious, you know.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that too. I feel like the big deaths
I
next
can't
season.
expect that.
I feel like next season the deaths are Jace, Cole,
Otto.
I really hope they stick to the just executed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want Otto's head
Yeah.
so
I'm
badly.
also, like, just like back to the money really quickly. Like one of the best ways to like have a price cut is to cut the actors.
Yes, that's true.
Like I don't get why
It's true.
we're keeping them on for another whole season.
I mean, but some of them you have to keep and you want to keep around. But I agree. I think Cole at this point is expendable, but he is also a fan favorite, and you're going to see him maybe like a mid-season death or something. Jace, we know, has to go next year at some point, but I don't know how long they're going to stretch that out. I mean, do you think like that's something that could happen within the first couple episodes? Like we get Gullet really quickly.
Depends on the order. Do you do King's Landing first, or do you do Gullet first?
They could do them kind of at the same time,
Or
stretched out over multiple episodes.
In which case, Jace either dies episode 2 or episode 3, right?
I like, since they're changing things, I sort of like if they rearrange it and we get King's Landing first. We get like Jace gets to King's Landing at least briefly, and then the Gullet happens. I would prefer that if they're going to change it. It gives us more time, and it makes his death worse.
You know what I don't want? And this is
Stormcloud?
well, with all respect to the actors who play Aegon and Laris, they're great, they're wonderful. I don't want a made-up plotline in Essos. I really don't.
But what if it features a hooker with a heart of gold?
Yeah.
They're definitely doing that. They have to.
I don't want them to.
I feel like Aegon can spend enough time shuttling around with like favorable river lords or something.
They're gonna go to that house in black and white, and they're gonna learn how to be faceless men.
Oh God! And the waif will be there.
Yes.
What's that theory that Arya never left? That like the Arya that leaves is just Jake and Hagar.
You know, Jaken's gonna be there too.
Yeah, he's just a face on the wall.
And then we're gonna meet Melisandre.
Stop it!
We've already met Melisandre, Casey. I saw a meme the other day. It was so stupid. It had me laughing, but it was like Sir Davos, the minute he takes Melisandre's head, and it shows him with like the ruby around his neck, looking young as fuck. He's like, oh, just a little trophy. Anyway, let's see. What haven't we talked about? I think mostly just the stuff in the vision.
I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Or not the vision. I mean, I'm sorry, the montage at the end.
Oh. Was anybody else confused that the timing seemed very weird?
Yes.
Because, right? Okay, I wasn't crazy. Like, Alicent is setting out at night, and there are parts of this montage that are happening in broad daylight. It was... It felt odd.
My impression was that the montage wasn't necessarily happening at once. It was like some of this shit was a week ago, some of it's today, some of it's tomorrow. Like it just was all over the place.
Yeah, but there's a I don't know if there's a rule, but I feel like there should be a rule about montage timing.
No, like the timing has been off this whole season, and like the one thing that made me like question everything this episode was specifically Reyna, like desperately needing water. I'm like, how long has she been running around? How big is this area? Like,
they're like, we have to do it all in one episode so people don't think she's been out there too long.
Is no one worried about her? Like,
well, that was my thing. Is the very next scene when we see her after she's separated from the party, I just laughed because I was like, oh, she's in the middle of nowhere. She has no resources, no planning for this. And no one gave a fuck that she's gone. No one came looking for her. She walked off that path in a wide open fucking, like, valley area where you could probably see her from a mile away. Like, no one turned around at any point and said, what's she doing way over there?
Her one duty is to take care of the kids.
Which is an important duty.
She doesn't know where they are anymore.
Yeah, she said, fuck that shit. Even if she gets a dragon, like, it's treason. Like none of this makes sense. No. None of this is fun.
Like, it makes more sense if the kids stay there and she snuck out.
Yes, I thought maybe that would be the thing. They stay and she hears about the dragon. She goes out in the middle of the night or something. But literally, like, as soon as you walk out of the castle, I mean, there were guards at the gate or whatever that were probably watching her and be like, what the fuck is she doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's comical when you think about it, to me.
Yeah, I guess going back to the ending, like, I think that it's, like, it's more setup than it is, like, this battle is about to happen right here. Like, we're gonna get another episode of setup because when I was watching this with Greg, we were like, they can't just go into episode 1 and just do all the stuff. Like, there's gonna have to be...
It's going to have to, it's going to have to happen in segments or something.
Yeah, and then you're going to have a little bit of lead up, and you probably won't get anything big until episode 2 or the very end of episode 1.
You know what they're going to do? Literally, the previously on House of the Dragon is going to be this last montage. They've already made it. Like, hey, remember armies? We remember. But the beginning of the montage was like the dragon riders getting armored up and ready for battle. And at that point, there was, like I said, there was still like 15 minutes left or something, or 20 minutes on like the little clock, and I was like, wait, how much time is left? And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, so like, are we going to start a battle and then like, cut to credits? Like, what's happening?
Like,
and nothing.
It's very confusing. It's very disjointed. It reminds me of later seasons of Game of Thrones where we're like, time is a construct. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't want to nitpick that part too much because you're right. But just from crafting a satisfying episode of television, like, they had to know this wasn't playing well.
I have a crack theory about this.
Ooh, let's hear.
There's 2 more. There was going to be 2 more episodes. They cut those 2 episodes because HBO wanted to, for some reason, stretch out another season.
Michal, is that you? No, this is literally Mihal's theory.
Yeah. No, not exactly. I think HBO just wanted to get more, or like pay less. So they were like 8 episodes after they had like
where they can pay less.
Well, I don't know about pay less. I think they just wanted more House of the Dragon. I wonder even they tried to talk them into 5 seasons. I know it's not confirmed to be 4, but
But
I
why
don't
did
think that.
immediately afterwards they announced, hey, 4 seasons is when this is going to end, which we sort of knew before, which I guess wasn't official.
but it was
But they the next day they're like, by the way, we've got 4 seasons planned. It's 4 seasons.
Yeah.
They announced that like right away as like, I don't know, damage control,
reassurance.
I guess, yeah, I don't know, because there maybe some people thought it would only be 3.
Maybe.
See. I just don't think that HBO is in the like, oh, we want 10 seasons of Game of Thrones mode. You know, that was a very different time in television, a very different time in HBO, and I think that this was a cost-cutting measure,
fair.
frankly.
Well,
it's not the
same
theory.
HBO that were begging D&D to keep the show going.
Well, the thing is,
I mean, literally, it's not even called the same thing.
Well, the thing is, in that case, why did they stretch essentially like 30 pages of the book into a whole season?
Because I think that they had a little more that they wanted to do, and then
and the HBO just came in and said no. Okay.
Yeah,
maybe.
Listen to the beginning of the episode where I lay out my whole theory.
No, I think like
as per my last email.
So like the thing is, like, for I know a lot of fans online are very angry about the season. Some even saying comparing this season 7, season 8, and especially there's a lot of people who are heavily attacking Ryan Condal and definitely Sarah Hess. Sarah Hess part, unfortunately, not a surprise because the favorite.
Gosh, I wonder why that is.
These internet people. Why do you always pick on the female writers? Why is it always a female writer that's always in the center of your attacks? Anyways. But that's not their problem. I feel like the problem here is it's not Sarah Hess's issue. It's the series composition that's the problem. This is this episode, even just as itself, it's an okay episode in the middle of a season. The problem is it came at the end of the season. So you should be blaming whoever is making the decision that there's only going to be 8 episodes and somehow not communicating that well enough with the writers who are thinking they're writing 10. Craft fairy done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just look. You literally never know. It's almost silly to speculate, but the season kind of demands that you speculate. So I don't know. I'm just my bias is to blame the network. You know, it doesn't mean that it's impossible that Ryan Condal was like, hey, you know what? I think we could do this in 8 episodes and it'll be perfect. That just doesn't seem likely to me with season 1 clearly needing those 10 episodes and being so well paced for it, you know?
There was just a lot of decisions being made throughout the season that there has to be some wires have to have been just crossed. That what the network wanted, what some people, some of the producers wanted, even George R. R. Martin. Like George R. R. Martin was 100% on board with the first season. And the moment he starts grumbling is that's something production-wise.
Yeah. Look, when you bring the man on set and show him his face in a weirwood and he's like nonplussed, I don't know, he might be fucking up. But I had to look it up, so because Sarah Hess, I knew she also wrote another episode this season. It was episode 2, which was also kind of generally unfavorable. But the director of this episode also directed episode 3, The Burning Mill, which people liked. So, but the director's the one that was like, I don't know, talking about the vision, how she was just told like, here's the things to put in the vision, and she just kind of had to come up with it all. Like the weirwood vision, there was like not a whole ton of direction on that. Apparently, it was just like touch all these points, basically. So,
why did the others look like weirdly bad,
or like brighter colored, like more blue,
like fake?
Someone said that. They were like, this is not they couldn't even get the Night King back. What the fuck? And I'm like, well, that wasn't the Night King. That's just a random other. It's like a different actor, like everything.
It looked like they used AI.
No, I mean the makeup and stuff is a little different. They shot it so that it looked kind of like a direwolf. Maybe that's part of what it was the the lens and stuff they used to kind of make it look like you're in that warg perspective, maybe.
Maybe.
But I don't know. They spent a lot of money on like the vision stuff to call back to Game of Thrones, and like I said, like I was talking about the shot of the winter wolves coming across the bridge of the twins. Like they spent a lot of money on certain things that were very brief, and I'm not sure entirely necessary.
I'm tired.
So am I. You guys want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's please.
Please do so. Sorry.
All right. Well, I thank you guys for joining us, and we look forward to another season in, I guess, about 2 years or so. 2026, most likely. They're going to begin production early next year, 2025, and we'll probably be back for that, and hopefully continuing on with the montage here. And until then, keep the hearths burning and say no to blackfires. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Rhaenyra was a pretty princess, and she was the realm's delight. And her dad did declare that she was his heir, and the Iron Throne was her birthright. But Queen Emma died in childbirth. The king soon took another wife. Now Alicent wants her son on the throne, and it's left the realm in strife. Oh, it's all kicking off between the blacks and the greens, 'cause Emma didn't have a son. Now the swords will flash and the togs will clash to the echo of a dragon song. Now Rhaenyra married Leonor, but he preferred the brown and not the pink. She had 3 strong sons, not a silver hair on one, so Harlan Strong's the sire everybody thinks. Now Alicent gave the king more children, and Aegon was the eldest son. Soon the princess and the queen became the blacks against the greens, and the dance of the dragon soon begun. Oh, it's all kicking off between the blacks and the greens, 'cause Emma didn't have a son. Now the swords will flash and the togs will clash to the echo of a dragon song. Now the king, he has a brother, the dragon rider Prince Daemon. The first wife he stoned and the second one was burned, but he wasn't left alone very long. For he is a true Targaryen, they like to keep it in the family. When not riding Xerxes, then he's riding on his niece, a rogue prince forever he shall be. Oh, it's all kicking off between the blacks and the greens, 'cause Emma didn't have a son. Now the swords will flash and the togs will clash to the echo of a dragon song. Oh, it's all kicking off between the blacks and the greens, 'cause Emma didn't have a son. Now the swords will flash and the togs will clash to the echo of a dragon song.
Why am I doing this? This is miserable.
Thanks for allowing me to join in midway through.
Oh, please. That was like a fraction of the way through.
Yeah.
The longer
Yeah.
we went, the smaller the fraction was.
That's right. You were still basically in the beginning.
Great. Thank you.